in to Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a wonderful Wednesday evening here on the Film Guide Network. Never know when Mondays are off and we have a national, a college football playoff game going on and we don't have a regular schedule. Hey, welcome in. Beautiful Wednesday evening. We got a loaded show for you guys today. It's that time of the year where, like, no matter how long I spend, and I normally start around noon every day. It's normally when we get together, we start rattling off topics and start formulating the show notes, right? I can work however long I want this time of the year on an opening. 9 times out of 10, based off the news cycle as of late, particularly with the portal window, you're going to chunk that sucker like halfway through the day. You're just going to toss it. So we had to kind of toss an opening today, but ironically enough, it kind of led into the Julian Humphrey news, right? We were going to talk about Ellis Robinson and how Ellis Robinson, since the day he has stepped on campus, listen to some of the names who have either entered the portal or flirted with the idea of the portal. A.J. Harris, Nyland Green, Julian Humphrey, Daniel Harris. And we'll talk about each of those players individually, but I want to talk about Julian Humphrey to start the show because this is the ultimate, definition, in my opinion, of your talent dictates your distraction. Okay, your talent level and how good you can ultimately be will basically depend and dictate how much people are willing to deal, right? How much people are willing to deal with you. I think what we watched over the last 24 hours was an active negotiation play out in front of our face. I think we saw an individual and a player in Julian Humphrey who will be in a battle for playing time this year. No matter what anybody wants to tell you, he will be in a battle for starting position at the University of Georgia. We saw that player actively receive negotiations, right? Actively receive offers, namely from Texas A&M was the school that this was originally linked to, right? Hey, that's the big threat. Watch out for them. Watch out for Texas. Watch out for yada, 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 right? But mainly Texas A&M. And then we find out today, hey, gonna pull my name back out of the portal. Less than 24 hours from, I think it was last night right before the show, he tweeted out a graphic that he was entering the portal. Okay, on top of, like, you can do the TikTok stuff, you can do the social media stuff, you can do whatever. You can do this story. Hey, this guy's obviously flip-flopping. I know one thing about Georgia. Normally, they don't do distractions. They just don't. I texted a source today and said, Julian Humphrey must be one of the most talented individuals that has ever walked inside that building up at that university because they normally don't do the sideshows. They just don't. And I'll tell you right now, they also don't do hard bargain negotiations. Like, if you're coming to them with some type of offer that you have received, good for you. Enjoy that offer. We're not going to be out here like hardballed into raising your salary. All right, that is not what the University of Georgia does per all accounts, per all sources. But I will guarantee you what has happened. When this type of discussion comes to the foot of Kirby Smart, particularly at the cornerback room, which, by the way, this is the world that we live in now. When you have 7 really, really talented Power 5 caliber like corners on your roster's going to be actively poached 365. So if you're not starting at Georgia, your phone is ringing. I'm promising you that right now. Julian Humphrey's phone is still actively ringing. Daniel Harris's phone is still actively ringing. Every single corner in that room that doesn't end up on that 1 deep, right? Because it ain't a 2 deep. It's a 1 deep at the cornerback position. Those 2 guys starting are those 2 guys, right? Every other player on that roster is getting actively called and actively poached, okay? So this is what you're going to have to deal with moving forward. But here would be my pitch, right? If I were Kirby Smart, if I were Will Muschamp, if I were Glenn Schumann, and whoever is the rotating revolving door at the cornerbacks coach, right? This happens to be Dante Williams. If I'm in that position, here would be my pitch, right? It would be nice and simple, okay? We will give you every opportunity and every honest opportunity to be one of those 2 guys. We will compete at this school and during practice at this place harder than anywhere else. So you will get a very, very true chance to find out whether or not you are the guy. Okay, I don't think if you hear any of the exit interviews from any of these guys who have left the program, none of them say that they got cheated. None of them say that they didn't get a good enough opportunity. That they just talk about how the opportunity didn't fit, how they just didn't crack the lineup, right? So stick around. We will give you a true opportunity to compete and win the job. And if you do, I promise you right now, you're going to play on Sundays. Everybody that plays at corner and everybody that plays at star and everybody that plays at safety for the last 5 years, outside of, I think, Richard LeCount, is still actively on an NFL roster. There it is right there. If you play here, you will play on Sundays. That would be my first pitch. And here would be my pitch to asking guys and telling guys, you probably should stick around because we don't have a large sample size of it, but it's pretty substantial at this point. Look at the list of names of guys that came in, waited 18 months, and said, man, shit, I'm never going to play here, and immediately hopped into the portal. Okay, look at the list of names. And then look at the list of names, and it's a very short list of guys like Amir Speed. Amir Speed spent 4 years trying to crack the lineup at Georgia, meanwhile getting better every single day, developing. And then he took the 1 year in a graduate transfer, went to Michigan State, balled out, and guess what? Now he's playing for the New England Patriots. And it looks to me like Amir Speed is going to hang on in the league for a while because he was developed at the University of Georgia behind closed doors where only NFL scouts got to observe him while he continued to get better, okay? Because playing time's great, but good playing time is the best, right? Putting good tape on display for NFL evaluators, that's what matters most. Amir Speed is going to make the league. Amir Speed has made the league. Amir Speed will hold on in the league. Jalen Kimber might not, right? I think that's the difference in my opinion. You stick around, and that would have been my selling point. Julian Humphrey, you stick around at the University of Georgia. I'm not promising you playing time. I'm not promising you that you're going to win the job. But I am promising you right now, if you hold out, if you just do what you're supposed to do, if you continue to be developed here, wherever and whenever you do at the right time crack a lineup, it's going to be at a Power 5 school, either here or somewhere else, and very shortly, it'll be on a Sunday roster. That would be my pitch, boys. If I were Agent Brooks, I would sit these guys down and I would say, hey, give us an opportunity to stick around here for 3 years. Give me 3 years of development here, and if it doesn't work out for you, I will help you out. And here's how I know this. I have it on pretty good authority that Nyland Green, he would have been happy finishing his career at Georgia. All right, but there was a real conversation about, hey, son, playing time might not be available here for you, but I think you are an NFL football player. I just think you need playing time, and it's not going to happen here. So I want to facilitate. I want to help you. I want to help you go to your next spot, and you see him land at Purdue. And I'm here to tell you, I think Nyland Green's going to have a very successful career at Purdue based off the time that was spent at Georgia, the cultivating that was done there. And guess what? Now I don't think there's going to be this hippity hop in the portal like you see some of these guys that bail really, really, really early on this process.
Too, like the defensive back position is one of those spots where you don't necessarily need to have a long resume of games and have to ball out for like multiple seasons or anything like that. We've seen that happen with guys at the University of Georgia, like Darian Kendrick. I know he had tape at Clemson, but I mean, he had one season and then went off to the NFL, still hanging around, playing meaningful snaps for the Rams. So you really just need one season. So if you can craft the lineup for one season, whether that be your third season, your first season, or whatever, if you can put on tape of one season, then you'll be golden for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive side of the ball, you don't need a huge sample size to prove that you're an NFL talent. I mean,
particularly at corners, highway speed measurement.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Stokes, I think, only started 1, maybe 2 seasons and first-round pick. So things like that where if you don't even if you don't start, get developed, like you said. Get developed and then go to another school and then ball out there. So I think it is very smart to stay at Georgia just from a career standpoint.
I think from a decision standpoint, like A.J. Harris, for example, I understand it. If he doesn't stick at Georgia, they're actively still working on him to keep him out of the portal. But I understand if the phone calls are, hey, son, you're 5th on that depth chart. You can be number 1 on ours, and we'll give you a pay raise. Like, that kid thinks he's a 3-year starter anyways. Like, that kid thinks he's an NFL player in 2 years. So it's hard for me to tell a 19-year-old kid in those situations like that, ignore that. Stick around here and be developed. Like that's really, really hard to sell. And I'm sure they're selling it really, really hard right now. They're pushing that motive and that message to A.J. Harris, and maybe it works out. But I guarantee you right now it's not going to work out for all 3 of them. It's not going to work. And the 3 of them being Julian Humphrey, Daniel Harris, and A.J. Harris. Like the odds that you keep all 3 of those with that message, very, very rare, right? Very slim, I should say, particularly with Ellis Robinson. I think we haven't seen the dude on action. We haven't seen the dude in action on a college football field. It's been behind closed doors. But I'm going to tell you right now, it probably don't take long. It does not take long for that kid to come into the room and everybody be like, oh, yeah, nah, he's one of us. All right, I talked to Caleb Downs' dad during this high school state championships here in Georgia. He said the feeling was very apparent very early that Caleb was not like other freshmen. I think Ellis is going to have the very same kind of acceptance from other guys, right? Very professional in his approach, obviously talented, physically prepared. He is not like the other ones. He is ready. We will accept him like he is ready because you have to accept these young freshmen. We saw the same thing with Malachi Starks the year before at Georgia. Like, you're not getting the freshman initiation, if you will.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's very easy to tell early on, like, okay, that guy is going to be special, and he's going to be special from now all the way up until the end of his career. You could see that with Brock Bowers early on in his career during that Clemson game. Like, it took one game to know, like, that dude is different than all the other tight ends that Georgia has had over the years. It's been a minute since we've seen one of those. And all signs point to Ellis Robinson being that. I mean, heck, the Twitter timeline was littered with his highlights at the All-American Bowl practice this week. He was named MVP as well, so everybody can see it right now.
What are the odds they let him get run at star? Or is it just he's going to be a straight-up corner?
Zero. I don't think – great, tremendous cover corner. All right, this is a 6'1", 190-pound kid that was a 10.3, 100-meter runner out of high school. And by the way, not stiff at all.
No.
This tremendous mover. This is a
Very
tremendous
fluid.
athlete, by the way. And that's what I'm saying. I think Julian has one of the higher ceilings that they've ever run across. Because even in high school, like how many guys they got on their roster got hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok doing dances? And it's a side thing, and people are going to say it's the modern world of college football, and that is true. It is true. But at Georgia, I mean, Nazir Stackhouse is the only one I know with a TikTok presence.
Yep.
And he's out here showing the food at Bones. You know what I mean? Out here doing the goofy memes. He's not. Woof, man, some of the clips coming from my man's TikTok is wild. And by the way, here's the good news. Everyone keeps him in check. Everybody keeps him in check. His teammates were absolutely cooking him today on Instagram, were they not? Pull some of these up. These were some of the funniest comments from his teammates on the post of him with Will Muschamp and a couple other coaches inside the house.
Yeah, so the top one is Javon Boyd with two of them, and it says, "Cuffing to piss me off. Man, is you leaving or not?" Dalen Everett just says, "Man," crying emoji. Tate Ratledge says, "Jit tripping."
Jit tripping. That's my
Kendall
favorite.
Milton said, "Bro, what?" And then my personal favorite, Ra Thomas, "Bro just wanted some attention."
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, just so I thought it was funny that his own teammates were just like, "Bro, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, cut the crap."
It is funny just to watch them give each other shit because you saw something similar with Oscar Delp when he posted something in the off season. He had like his hands on his knees during a workout, like stand up stuff like that, and he goes, "Oh, resting position." So it is funny to watch players interact and give each other shit on social media.
Yeah, it's good, man. You got to be able to keep them in check. It's why not to do it again. The first thing I thought about with the Rayola poem was like, oh my God, his teammates are gonna kill him.
Dude.
Like, social media is one thing, but your grown ass teammates in that locker room are going to cook you, sir. So yeah, watch out, kids. It's great to build an influence. All right, it's great to build a platform. Just don't be meat clapping on the timeline. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys. Way too early projections. You like that one. Way too early projections of the 2024 depth chart. And looking at that depth chart, we kind of got to what we're going to talk about tonight. It is a very new chapter of Georgia football, and a chapter perhaps coming to a close. So we wanted to take some time out to talk about that. The biggest roster losses as of late, we're going to rank those. And we have a goat off going on tonight. I'm going to pin the boys up against one another. We're going to call court into session tonight and have some fun with that. The portal window is closing. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to talk about that because I don't know how much news is left there. There's some a Marshall defensive lineman that they're interested in. Maybe some maybe if some new names pop into the portal over the next couple of days. I don't understand the late entries that we're getting as of late. Those must be some real late poaching opportunities like Pup Howard out there in South Carolina. Like, what the hell's going on there? It's like a week left of the portal, and my man's just now entering it. So good luck getting all your official visits scheduled, unless you don't need them, Poach City. Anyways, welcome in. We got a loaded show. Hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Hey, give them 3. just crossed over 20,000 subscribers last night. It was a nice new feeling, a nice new little, milestone for the channel here. We started earlier in the season at 12.2 thousand subscribers. So we've gone up almost 8,000 subscribers in a matter of 4 months. Yeah. So we'll take it either way. The growth has been phenomenal, and we appreciate you guys for being here with us and making us your home for college football talk and discussion. So shouts out to you guys, and shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you run over to Prize Picks today, you will get a 100% deposit match, all right, using promo code Brooks. What does that mean? If you put up to $100, you will get instantly matched in your account with $100, okay? Only using promo code Brooks. They got some great stuff going on over there. Obviously, college football season coming to a close, but college basketball season is up and at 'em. So there is plenty of action and fun to be had over on Prize Picks using promo code Brooks. Also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at the Athletic Collection. All of the posters of these former Georgia football players that you see around the studio can and will be made available to you at the Athletic Collection. The link to the poster website is in the description of this bio. No, promo code needed. All right, just run over there. Those are NIL plays. So not that those guys, those future NFL dudes need any money. They're about to run into it, particularly Bowers. But the rest of them, if you want to help them out, there's a bunch of players available over there on the Athletic Collection. So great time to be here on the network, guys. What do y'all think? 20K, how's it feel, man?
Freaking love it, dude. I would say 4 months, maybe not even 4 months, because we kind of started middle of August, and now we're like right at the beginning 7th, of January.
8/7/23.
Yeah, so, I mean, and you and I were talking about it before the show of, like, just how much has changed here already in the last 4 months. Like, just how the scenery has changed, like, stuff we've added. I mean, the overall product has just continued to grow. It's been a really cool thing to watch.
When you put it into perspective that we started at 12K and, like, you go back and watch some of the old stuff we were doing, it's like, wow, we have come a long way. It doesn't feel like it, though, because it's just been a natural progression. Mm-hmm.
And it was nerve-wracking for me. As you can imagine, like, I've been a solo guy for a long time. And not only was it going from solo, I knew I was going to be able to work with people, like communication and talking and making good content. It's kind of what I do. Mm-hmm. The nerve-wracking part was I hadn't worked with you guys. Like the only time we've ridden around in cars for years. Yeah. We've been hanging around, particularly me and you, Jonathan, but not something that we knew instantly was going to be filled with chemistry. I felt a lot more comfortable after Nashville, coming back from SEC Media Days and doing that. But yeah, no, you're right. Going back, I didn't realize we looked that bad.
It was dark.
On camera, it was dark. Lights were wrong. Audio issues were going in and out. Yeah. So yeah, we have definitely come a long way just in the last 4 months of building this studio. I'm super excited to see what's ultimately in store for us moving forward. But yeah, no, that's awesome stuff to look back and take a look at that. Speaking of looking back and taking a look, let's take a look forward. All right, let's take a look forward at what the potential depth chart is going to look like. This is not great radio, so just bear with me here. I went through the depth chart today and just kind of projected what it's ultimately going to look like next year. Obviously, Beck coming back, Trevor Etienne, and a bunch of young guys at that running back position. Don't really know how much you're going to see Branson Robinson early on in the year. We'll get to that here in a second. Tight ends, obviously, you guys know who that is. Delp, Lucky, Sperlin, and Riddell. At the X receiver spot, I got Rod Thomas and Dylan Bell splitting a little time. The Z spot, London Humphreys and whoever else doesn't win out that X spot. The slot receiver, Dominic Lovett, obviously, and Anthony Evans. I think Anthony Evans made his name kind of known for who's going to be the next opportunity right there at that slot spot. Arian Smith still in the mix somewhere. Still in the mix somewhere, right? Left tackle, Ernest Green. Left guard, Micah Morris. Dylan Fairchild in the mix at both guard spots. Tate Ratledge. Jared Wilson going into the center spot, and Monroe Freeling. Flip over to the defensive side of the football. I do believe Mykel Williams moves to Jack next year. Maybe not full-time, but you'll see him there. Chaz Chambliss backing him up or splitting duties. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. Part of the reason I think Mykel's going to move to Jack is not only because they need him to do so, but I think they need to clear up some room for 93 to work. 93 was super impactful when he came back from his injury this year. Nose tackle, Nazir Stackhouse hasn't announced he's coming back, but all signs kind of point to that. Same thing for Warren Brinson. If those guys don't return, you're looking at Ja Jarrett and Christian Miller in that mix. Jordan Hall, guys like that in the mix. The Mike spot, C.J. Allen, obviously. The Willie spot, Smile Mondon coming back, and Raylan Wilson getting some run in there as well. Got guys like Troy Bowles and the new load of freshmen, Justin Williams, Chris Cole, and all that bunch coming in the mix as well. Friend of the show, Christopher Jones coming into that room as well. The star position, big question mark there. Is it going to be Jonel Aguero? Who's it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to look like at that star position moving forward? Safety spot kind of seems the only one that you kind of know for a fact. At least one of the spots, Malachi Stark's going to be back there. And then you got a rotation. I got 4 names here. Dan Jackson, David Daniel, Justin Rett, KJ Bolden. Like, who's going to be that other safety spot next year? And then the corner spot. I think there's 5 or 6 names up for 2 spots at that corner spot as well. So when I got to running through that list, before I go to the questions, man, like when I went through that projected depth chart list and really, really dove through it, I got 5 names: Tate Ratledge, Michael Williams, Smile Mondon, Malachi Starks, and Dan Jackson. Those are the 5 names on that depth chart entering next year that have played meaningful roles in a national title. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot. Mm-mm. So, like, real quickly, the book of the 2 natties and the 30-game win streak, real quick, I think that sucker came to a close, right? At least the chapter, not the book. The book of Georgia's reign is still very much so open with pages and chapters left to be written. But this first wave of greatness, those chapters are closed, man. They're 100% closed.
I mean, heck, when you've got 12, 15 guys going to the NFL draft every year, I mean, yeah, it depletes rather quickly. I would say you could throw in Arian Smith into the mix a little bit. That guy made some meaningful plays throughout the last 2 seasons, last 3 seasons, some big-time catches in the college football playoff games as well. But, yeah, not a whole lot of names left, and that's why I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, like when these guys when these guys were going to start declaring, I was like, it's going to feel like it's the end of like what this last 3-year run was, because these are all guys that were massive contributors to what was accomplished.
Yeah, it's definitely the end of it. It's weird to think about. You look back at the 2021 team, that was only 2 seasons ago, and it's a completely different roster from then. So it is kind of interesting to look at and just see how much it's changed since then, how it is truly the end of an era. But I think it's the beginning of a new era in Georgia football where it's just consistent dominance, and where if you're not competing for national titles, or, I mean, making the playoffs should be an expectation at this point. Like, it's a given. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see where Georgia football moves from here.
Is Dan Jackson the fastest walk-on to a starting role ever? He redshirted in 19, was a scout team player in 20. In 2021, he played in all 15 games and started, the last 4. So in 2 seasons.
Aaron Davis at corner.
Who?
Aaron Davis back in 2014.
Okay.
That's not
Aaron
a bad
Davis
one.
at corner.
But other than that,
maybe a shout out to Brendan Douglas. No, he wasn't a walk-on.
I don't think he was. Yeah, I don't think he was a walk-on.
He sure looked like one at times. Sorry. No. Look. Hold on. I got a long history of Brendan Douglas. I'm sorry. Played him 3 times in high school. Just was an absolute load to tackle, but never rushed for 100 yards. So what's up? But yeah. No, this is one of the faster tracks to a meaningful career as a walk-on, right?
For sure.
No doubt.
A Traitsy dude that they took early. Like, was a 4.38 guy out of West Hall, I believe.
Yeah, North Hall.
Is there a West Hall?
Yes.
Oh, shouts out to the halls.
There's a West Hall, North Hall, and East Hall. And South Hall Middle School.
Get
just
over
no
yourself,
high school.
Hall County. Let's just say it that way. Get over yourself, Hall County.
Chill out. Grounds, man.
But no, when you look at it, like, this is an end of an era for Georgia football. And I don't know what else to. What do you kind of encapsulate it? How?
I think it just shows like how quickly time flies by, because I think like when I think about Brock Bowers, for the longest it was like, man, we still got this guy for 2 more years after this freshman year. Man, we still got him for a whole nother year, and then boom, like he's declared for the NFL draft. You're never going to see him again in the Georgia G. Like, he is now an NFL football player. And that's why it was so important during those back-to-back natties, like just continuing to soak it in, like telling people like really enjoy this moment. Because it's going to, like, just next week, you're going to have a new national title. Like, no one is going to be saying the reigning national champs, Georgia Bulldogs. Like, you're no longer saying that anymore.
Yeah, it is interesting to look back and just see how much like guys like Stetson Bennett, where you felt like they were there forever.
Yeah.
They kind of were, and now they're almost 2 years removed from the team. Mm-hmm. It is weird to see how quick time has passed.
And it's going to happen with this next batch even quicker, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're going into our last years of Malachi Starks. We're going on our last year of Malachi Starks.
Yep.
We're going to our last 15 games of Michael Williams, you would imagine.
Yep.
So enjoy.
I mean, you feel like you've been hearing about Carson Beck for 4 years now, and he's about to start his final season. So it's really interesting to see how quickly it goes. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a moment where like, oh my God, KJ Bolden and all these other, like Ellis Robinson, all these guys are already done with their careers. So
No doubt.
it's weird. I'm getting old.
I think that 50 wins might hold. The 50 wins record of this senior class.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
This next class is going to do it, I bet.
I don't know, man.
I mean, this senior
They have to. I would imagine you have to keep pace of 12-1.
This next senior
13-0.
class will have 3 straight undefeated seasons, and then whatever they
right.
do next year.
That's
on
true.
top of the fact that they didn't have a shortened season in 2020.
Okay. Never mind. I take that back.
So this next class,
after this one,
they'll hold it.
good luck.
They will hold
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, especially with Texas and Oklahoma coming into
Yeah.
the conference, like it's hard to believe that you're going to keep ripping 13-0 seasons.
No, yeah. This,
Well, you are going to hypothetically get an extra game added to extra 2
Correct.
games added to your season.
Yeah.
that's fair.
So
But
We're really going to have unpaid labor out here playing 17 college football games.
Yeah.
Man. That's nuts. It's knucking
Yeah.
futz, man. Knucking futz out here. Hey, player safety though, baby. That's always been my favorite. When an NCAA representative will cop out of something like overtime rules, how bullshit the overtime rules are for player safety. Get your ass out of here. 17 games. Yeah, dude, you're going to be locked in playing a lot of football
Load
over
management.
the next couple of years. Say what?
load management's about to
management.
become a big term.
Yeah, good luck to you. But when we went through that depth chart, guys, I got several questions I want to propose to both the chat and just in general about this roster, right? Number one, starting on the offensive side of the football, and then we'll flip over to the defensive side of the football. Who is going to be the featured backs? Like, I think Georgia has a plethora of really talented dudes next year. But if you say, hey, Trevor Etienne's is going to be the primary feature. I went through the game logs today. He has one career game of 20 rushes. The rest of them are scattered anywhere from 12 to 17. Okay, so this isn't off rip going to be someone that's going to walk in. He wasn't even the bell cow down at Florida. Him and Johnson kind of split carries for most of his career. So he comes to Georgia. My question is going to be, hey, of those, the names that are left, right? Like Rod Robinson, Andrew Paul, Cash Jones, Nate Frazier coming in, Dwight Phillips coming in, Chauncey Bowens coming in. Of those kind of 6 names right there, who's going to be the 1B to what we presume to be Trevor Etienne's 1A?
I think this is a year where it's very similar to the 2022, where it's almost like you have somewhat of a 3-headed monster, but you have 3 different guys that do different things. I think you're going to have Branson Robinson and Etienne be the 1-2 punch, and then you'll probably mix in someone like a Nate Frazier or a Roderick Robinson, kind of just to change up the pace a little bit, similar to what they did with Dejon Edwards back when you had Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton.
All right, it's January, so it's very, very early in this discussion. I just want to lay the groundwork like I typically do, and he attacks rehab like nobody's business. He gets the Nick Chubb comps for a reason. But the early intel right now is that I don't expect Rod Robinson to be 100% what we believe him to be or what we expect him to be or what we hope him to be as an athlete or a projection. I don't expect that to happen in September. Okay?
Talking about Branson?
Branson.
Okay.
Who did I say?
You said Rod.
Roderick Branson. My bad. Branson. I'm talking about Branson here with the knee injury. It's a very unique knee injury to the running back position that I don't expect like walking out week 1. That's the guy that Brooks thought was Maurice Jones-Drew coming out of high school. I don't expect that immediately. All right. But maybe by November, maybe by like early October, we start to see that kind of flourish. But until then, you're going to have to find a 1B, in my opinion. Now, maybe Branson attacks rehab like he's already attacking it. Maybe everything else just works in his favor and he's back onto the field in the time that everybody expects. But I just want everybody, because even if he were 100% healthy, he's still going to have to knock some rust off. Like, he's still going to have to go out there the first 6 weeks of college football and learn how to play college football, because this is a guy who, like, got some run in 2022 during mop-up duty, but outside of that, like, not a lot of run in college football.
Yeah, and I think if this last season taught you anything, it's that they figure it out at the running back room. I mean, you had a point where Dylan Bell was playing running back, so they've already got more talent in that room just because there has been less injuries, but I think they'll figure it out eventually. I think a guy like Andrew Paul or Roderick Robinson, like you said, they'll plug and play and kind of fill that spot until Branson Robinson can come back and be the athlete they want him to be.
Every time I see him, Andrew Paul, he looks special, feels special. When he touches the ball, he feels special.
That's what I wanted to mention is that I want to keep waiting on Andrew Paul because even this last year, he's battling back from an ACL tear the season before, and Georgia fans understand what that is like with a running back of you're coming back from an ACL tear. That's going to take time. Zamir White took them time. Nick Chubb took them time. And so now Andrew Paul, he kind of got a little bit of wiggle and he got some playing time here in this last season, but I think next year maybe you could, especially knowing that Branson's probably not going to be 100% ready to go at the start of next year, I think Andrew Paul's the guy that's going to be right behind him.
So that was my first major question. I think those are the options, right? When Branson gets healthy, it'll be him, okay? Plus, as soon as he went down this year, the intel back was shit. We were banking on that one. We were banking on that guy to have a big year this year and kind of really be special. And Kendall turned into that towards the end of the season. But I think Georgia and every offense, let's be honest, every offense operates at its highest rate when there's an electrifying aspect to the running back game. And I think there's potential in that room for that. I think early on in the season, you're looking at one of three guys, in my opinion, right? Or four, really. When does Branson get back, and what does it look like when he does? Can Andrew Paul turn into what Brooks thinks he is? Can Roderick Robinson show some wiggle? I think there's definitely some thunder in that package, and you could tell when he got touches this past week, he's really, really hard to bring down.
Yep.
And then, the other name I'm looking forward to seeing is Nate Frazier. I think Nate Frazier is going to get some burn next year, no matter what.
The only thing different that this last year when you had issues at the running back, not issues, but you were depleted at the running back position, you had some time to figure things out a little bit and kind of beefing up your depth chart. This next season, you don't have time. It's Clemson week 1. So, I think Georgia's going to do what they typically do in that role, and they're going to go with guys that have been around for multiple seasons, like a guy like Andrew Paul. Roderick Robinson, I know he got some late burn, but I think it's going to be those guys that have been around. Like Cash Jones is probably going to be ahead, in my opinion, of Roderick Robinson in that first game.
Cash Jones gets some love, so the chat can shut up. The next question I have now, I want to preface this with saying, Jared Wilson was the OG my guy, all right, coming out in, I think, 2021, 2020, whatever it was. His class, I was so high on Jared Wilson, you would have thought I was Willie Nelson. I mean, I was absolutely gassed up on some Jared Wilson tape. And I was on the bandwagon of this is going to be a dude. That being said, I think Jared Wilson's going to be an NFL player. I know Micah Morris, Dylan Fairchild, and Tate Ratledge are NFL players. So can one of those three figure out how to play center? Right? Just a question. I'm just wondering. Can Dylan Fairchild or can Micah Morris or can Tate Ratledge figure out how to play center? Because the idea of having, being forced to rotate those three guys at two spots at guard when the opportunity to play all three of them at once is on the table, that is tasty to me. That makes me Randy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm a Jared Wilson truther. I'm a Jared Wilson believer. But if you want to rotate, let's rotate those, Jared Wilson in for one of those three and get those three on the field at the same time for the first time. Now, here's the problem. None of them, except for I think Micah, have a background in playing center. Micah, I remember telling me in high school, was already training it. He was doing it on his own, getting snaps in because you just never know. And he knew he was going to be an interior projection once he got to college anyways, though he has practiced during his time at Georgia at tackle when need be. So that would be my question. And it's an investigative question. It's a, hey, let's F around and find out type question. And if I were the offensive line coach or if I were the offensive line graduate assistant or if I were an offensive line coach listening to me right now, I would propose that question in the meeting room just to watch somebody's eyes light up because they are all about maximizing potential. That's what the whole machine is about, right? Can we make sure we have the best players on the field at all times? And in my opinion, that opens the door for that opportunity. Thoughts on that? I heard some I heard some thank yous. It obviously had never crossed either of your minds.
No, I didn't think about either of the potential of those guys because when you have a player that starts at a certain position for as long as a guy like Tate Ratledge has, you don't even consider really moving him to a different position. Yeah. But I think if Tate Ratledge could learn the center position, that'd be a really big plus because you get to move in guys that are also fully capable of playing that position, and you don't have to throw a freshman or a young guy into the fire.
My opinion would be keep Tate at right guard just because that's where he's been. That would be my opinion.
And he's 6'6".
Absolutely. So I would say keep him.
Hard to play with that leverage at the
But I think one thing we do know 100% for sure is that other guys are going to get some run at it because one thing that I've learned during spring over the last few years for Georgia is that they rotate the piss out of guys at offensive linemen. They put them everywhere and at other positions too. I mean, when we were talking about the star position last year, I mean, they were putting everybody at star, moving all those defensive backs around and trying to figure just getting different looks. So I think you can 100% bet on the fact that it's going to get looked at this spring.
Yeah, you can, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going into the year with Drew Bobo being your backup center. No shot at Drew Bobo. But Drew Bobo don't look like the rest of them 5, all right? And he ain't going to feel like the rest of them 5. So that's what it is right now on paper, and it ain't going to be that come August, I would imagine.
I got a roster question for you.
Come on.
Of the 5 or 6 corners that are going to be fighting for a spot this year, is there a Chris Smith type player on that list where you can say, hey, you know what? You're probably not going to start at corner, but let's move you back to safety and see if you can earn a spot there?
All right, so here's the list. Everett, Humphrey,
Harris.
2 Harrises so far. No official exits from AJ. You got Robinson. Who am I missing?
I think that's
Chris Peel.
That's
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Chris Peel and Kyron Jones, I believe, has already made the move back to safety. Of that list right there, I would say AJ Harris. AJ Harris has shown some real propensity for physicality throughout his career, just in evaluating him. And of that list, this is going to sound crazy because he was a 5-star. He's the least freaky of a lot of these guys. Like Everett, not necessarily. Everett's the technician. If we were to lunch pail a guy, it's Dalen Everett. But like Julian Humphrey, freak show. Daniel Harris, freak show. Ellis Robinson, freak show. Okay, AJ Harris, not that. AJ Harris, ball player. So yeah, if I don't necessarily think it to be true, but I believe if it were the case, yeah, you would bump AJ Harris over. I think he's an 11-second 100 guy, whereas the rest of these guys are sub 10.5.
Yeah.
This is an interesting offseason for the defensive back room, specifically those 2 cornerback spots, because I mean, there for a while, like Georgia kind of got into this pattern of like, okay, one guy's going to the NFL, we're going to bump the other guy over, and now we're looking for our next guy up to go play across the field from him. This year, even though Everett was that second guy the entire season, it doesn't feel like it's just, okay, Dalen Everett, you're now DB1, and we're looking for the guy to play next to him. I truly feel like we're going to get this battle of who's going to be the top 2 dogs this season.
All right, seeing some comments in the chat that I want to address. AJ Harris is in the portal. That is correct. He is in the portal and has not found a destination, which means there is still an opportunity for him to come back to the University of Georgia, and have it on good authority. There's still conversations about such being happening. Somebody in the chat asked who has a stronger arm, you or Murray. Who had the strongest arm? I guess we'll never know. I told you guys in Miami, I had everything ready. I had microphones. I had cameras. I had footballs. I had a field that I had, reserved. I had everything. I had receivers to come out there. And I'm busy. And I told you straight up, if it didn't happen, it's because Aaron Murray didn't want it to happen. And I don't know why Aaron Murray didn't want it to happen. I guess he's fearful of that chooch that's attached to your boy's shoulder. Which, by the way, a little bit of proof on the timeline for the chooch abilities.
Yeah, we did it. People did get at least to see what a 2% chooch.
They got a little taste of a no warm-up, no crow hop. Everybody knows the rules, 52 yards in the air.
Just letting it rip.
A dry chooch rip for 52 yards. Come on. You look like you got thoughts, bro.
Bro, it's not a word, man.
It is a word.
No, it's not.
Well, it's on a shirt now, so it is one.
Yeah. Fair
You
ch
need one of those.
Yeah,
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
get
get
you
one.
Christian.
I don't know.
Hey,
if
we
I'd
got
wear it.
long sleeves coming in, too.
I don't know if I'd wear that, but
I mean,
Thank you.
Here's what's going to be great about the 2% chooch shirt. Every time you wear it, somebody going to ask.
That's what I was about to say. Is like, dude, that'd be the
Somebody's
perfect
gonna
shirt
ask.
to
And
like.
you can just say, my boss is an idiot. And that'll be it.
yeah, but that doesn't explain why I put the shirt on then.
like that'd be
Because my boss made me.
that'll be the perfect shirt for you to wear downtown Athens. It's a perfect conversation starter. What the heck is a chooch, dude? Oh, well, let me tell you.
I
about
don't know. I can't tell.
Well, you can at least talk about how you don't know and where it originated from. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, Aaron Murray, fearful of the chooch. I would duck me, too. There's nothing for him to gain in that one.
No, there really
There's nothing.
isn't.
There's nothing for him to gain in that one. But anyways, on to our next question. What can Dylan Bell become? That when I look at this roster, it's in need of a dynamic playmaker at wide receiver. It has been since George Pickens has been healthy. Okay, like a real freak, unguardable freak. Every time he's out there, you're like, ooh, can we get it to him? Can Dylan Bell become that? Because he kind of showed that he might be able to.
I mean, watching what he did in the Orange Bowl with those 50-50 balls.
And Tennessee.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Tennessee, he had a great game.
Yeah.
I think that it was interesting not when he started playing running back, and I think it was kind of just assumed like, oh, well, that's just because Georgia doesn't have anybody at running back right now that they can consistently roll out there because they're kind of depleted. I think, to me now, hindsight 2020, I think that was more so of a sign of we have to get him the ball, and we can't necessarily do that at a consistent rate at wide receiver. So we're going to stick him in the backfield because that dude needs to get touches. That dude needs to get the ball in his hands consistently throughout football games because he can change the game. And so with how the wide receiver room was this year, I think that you're going to continue to see him build upon that role this next year. And I think you are just going to I'd like to see him be used as what I thought the Falcons were going to use Cordell Patterson as a joker role. That didn't necessarily pan out, but I think that's kind of what I'd like to see from him this next year.
I think I don't want to call it ceiling, but I think the best comp you can give him is Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
From South
Chad's
Carolina.
already hit it.
Yeah, where, I mean, you can basically – he plays any position. He can run the ball. He can catch. He's returned kicks before, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So I triple threat, really. So.
And he can pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can do that.
He has a tutty. I think in order for us to really know, mess around and run a double move next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think of all the Dylan Bell plays right now, right? A lot of back shoulder fades, a lot of hitches, a lot of screen passes, a lot of things that say not quite a refined route runner. Can we develop that over the summer? And how would you expect a guy to develop into one? Hell, he split half of his time this year trying to figure out how to play running back in this offense. So I'm not diminishing him. I'm just saying there's a lot of room for growth for this guy, and they need a dynamic weapon. Not just, hey, he can run and pass. I'm talking about when he's on the field, teams wet themselves like they have the last couple of years for what Georgia has offensively.
Is he going to be the Bobo guy next year? Where I know Mike
somebody that they feed.
Yeah, because obviously Brock Bowers was that when he was healthy this year, and when it didn't happen, you kind of saw the offense not go in disarray, but kind of like, who do we turn to if we really need a play to be made? So is he going to be that guy next year? Because I know Bobo has a tendency to find one guy and really give him extra opportunities.
I think we need to really find out what Ra is another one that could really develop into this. I know when he first got to campus and then ultimately worked his way into shape and was fully healthy. The pub out of camp, I've told y'all this. At Georgia, if I don't hear nothing about you, you're probably not having a great time, right? It's probably not looking so great for you. You probably look like you're drinking out of a fire hose. But if we hear something, if we hear just a little bit, you're doing great. If we hear a lot, you're going to be an All-American, right? And we've always heard a little bit about Ra. Hey, we just got it. We got to get him healthy. We got to get him comfortable, and we got to get him loose, right? We got to let him go. He could turn into something. I think the other could turn into something is obviously Colby Young, the kid from Miami, and you got 2 years with that one. Yeah. That is BMAC's prized possession. That is Brian McClendon's proof of concept. If he can turn Colby Young into what everyone thinks Colby Young can be, then he's going to start landing some of those dudes. Yeah, I think I talked about it when we first talked about Colby Young. If you go back and look at the track record of BMAC just during his time at Georgia as both a player, graduate assistant, first-time wide receivers coach, okay, if you look at the players that played for him, talking about names like Muhammad Massaquoi, A.J. Green, Malcolm Mitchell, Chris Conley, what do all of those people, Chris Durham, what do all of those people have in common? They're all 6'2 plus. They're all 205 plus. They're all big, tall, long, all right? That's exactly what BMAC wants. That's his formative years as a coach. That's what he wants. Ideally, that's who he wants to be and who his guys want to be, right? Colby Young's his first crack at that outside of Tyler Williams, and I think Colby Williams is a Ferrari, whereas Tyler Williams is like a Mustang GT with all the bells and whistles. There's two differences. Both are serviceable. Both are great. One of them could be a first-round draft pick in Colby Young.
Mm-hmm. That's tasty to hear as a Georgia fan. I mean, it feels like that's kind of been the one thing that you still have been waiting on offensively from Georgia over the years. Is like since George Pickens has left, it's just been the search for the next one. It's been the search for that true X wide receiver, and you've kind of gotten glimpses of it. You kind of gotten a little bit of a taste of it, but it's still have been searching and searching and searching. And it feels like this is the window of opportunity where it's like rah-rah's your opportunity, and then you also got Colby Young as well.
Last question, because we already hit on what happens at corner, and I think we just did a good enough job of who's the weapon defenses will have to fear. Because, last 2 years it's been Brock. Mm-hmm. The year before that it was George. Okay. Year before that, maybe DeAndre Swift. Okay. Who is the player that the defenses are really going to have to focus on next year? Carson?
Well, I mean that's kind of a given.
It's a cop out too.
It's the quarterback. I feel like I truly feel like if Dylan Bell is utilized in a way that you can maximize his output, he can become a real problem. Just because he can line up anywhere on the field and play virtually any position you need him to.
I love it. All right, this one's kind of unanswerable, but what does Mykel Williams look like when he ultimately moves to Jack and when he's playing there now? I don't want to build this conversation up too much, so I want to go ahead and knock it down right now. I think this idea of who's playing Jack is a little bit overblown, and here's what I mean by that. On first and second down, you're a glorified defensive end. On third down, you're a specialized pass rusher. That's what you are, all right? So on first and second down the last couple of years, the dedicated run defender has been Chaz Chambliss at the Jack spot. This next couple of years, or this next year, maybe it's just Kel. Maybe it's just Mykel is the first down run defender and he gets to be the situational pass rusher. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that right there is a recipe for a big year for 13. So if it actually winds up like that, and here's the deal, I think it has to. I think they have to do this not only to satisfy the projection and the possibilities that Mykel Williams ultimately can be and to reach the pinnacle of that athlete, but I also think moving that guy out of the defensive end spot opens up playing time for guys like Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins that is needed. Like, if Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins sits on the bench for another year, we saw it against Florida. Dude comes back from a foot injury for the first time all year, hadn't even really practiced, okay? And he goes out there and strip sack fumble like the third snap he's on the field. The dude is a great defensive end, just hadn't had a ton of run. This isn't like Tramel, no offense, this isn't Tramel Walthour stealing reps from Mykel Williams. This is a legit football player that they need to get on the field, and moving Kel over to Jack might be able to open that up.
I think that's a good thing for Georgia, kind of experimenting a little bit and putting your best playmakers in certain spots because, I mean, it was what it was at defensive line this year. And I know that it's weird to outlook it in the way that we did because, I mean, how could you not say it was a down year compared to what you had the 2 years before that? I mean, of course it's going to be a down year after losing those interior guys. But I think if you can create some mismatches elsewhere and you can get your best playmakers in better spots, I think the defensive line, even with Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, and those guys getting extra years, I think it's going to be an improvement.
Quarters in session. We have a GOAT debate. We have a GOAT debate on our hands. Brock Bowers' career has come to an end at the University of Georgia, and there's this guy named Herschel Walker lying around. So here's what we're going to do.
Lying around.
One of you.
He's just there.
He's just hanging. Hanging around. One of you has Herschel Walker. One of you has Brock Bowers. Now, there's a little gamesmanship going on in the group chat today, and we'll play some mental games, all right? I put it up to the chat. I want one of you to pick Brock Bowers. I want one of you to pick Herschel Walker, all right? And the first response I thought I was going to get was, I call dibs on so-and-so. That was not the text I got. Kirby sent back immediately, hey, J. Will, which one you want? He gave you first pick, dog.
He did.
And then we get in here in the chat or in the room, and I don't even know what the mental shit talking was over here, but you gave him a little barb too. I can't quite remember what it was.
No, I just said, like, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Don't need no help. I think that's what it was. Don't need no help.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so how do y'all want to go? How do y'all want to do this? You want to flip a coin to see who states their case for GOAT first?
I mean, you can go first if you want. Bro,
Okay.
I'm not.
All right.
This isn't damn 8 Mile.
I'm selling it, bro. Chill out. Go ahead. Herschel Walker,
okay.
why is he the GOAT?
First and foremost, for all 3 years that he was at the University of Georgia, that dude was more than 50% of the total offense. Ooh. I mean, he went from, I think it was 1,300 rushing yards, then he went to 1,800 rushing yards, and then 1,700 rushing yards. I mean, that dude was the entire offense. It was never like, is Georgia's offense going to score this drive? It was, is Herschel Walker going to find a way and score this drive? I mean, that's what it was. That dude dominated college football for all 3 years. He almost should have been a 2-time Heisman winner, arguably. Just impressive all around. The other thing that I want to mention when I thought about is Brock Bowers to go, immediately what I went to think about was, are 19 jerseys going to be a staple in Georgia merch stores? Like 20 years from now, are we still going to see Brock Bowers jerseys? 'Cause I mean, since Herschel Walker left UGA, there has been 34 jerseys sold everywhere. I mean, he is still there. You can still buy yourself a red and black 34 jersey. Do we think that Brock Bowers will be that? Do we think like his jersey is forever going to be in those stores? Because in my opinion, I would argue Stetson Bennett has a better chance of having that happen than Brock Bowers would. So that's another thing that I thought of. I mean, and honestly, like when people think of Herschel Walker, when they think about the greats of college football, and I know that it just ended for Brock Bowers, so there's still time for this to build, but like Herschel Walker is always a name that's thrown out there of like, that dude is one of the most dominant players in college football. He is one of the greatest college football players. I don't know if Brock will be that. Like I said, we still haven't gotten like this full digestive thing of like, okay, Brock Bowers' career is over. What do we think about him in totality? But I just still think that it's hard to just come out here and topple a guy like Herschel Walker.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. Do you
No.
I saw you reach for your gavel, so.
This $12 Amazon gavel sure is attractive for an ADD bitch like me.
No, I mean, and there's no denying Herschel Walker's greatness. I'm not here to say like, oh my God, Brock Bowers is miles away from Herschel.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are taking that stance.
No.
Like, it's not even close, bro.
No,
what do you mean?
I just think looking at what Brock Bowers did in the era of college football that he did it in, where you have NIL, the talent in college football is so much more widely distributed. You don't have regionality recruiting at all. Like, it's not all Georgia recruits are going to Georgia, all California recruits are staying in California. The best are going everywhere. And then you have the transfer portal and things such as that. You're playing in the most talented era of college football. So to see what Brock Bowers did, where he basically was the most dominant player on the field for 3 straight years, from the time he stepped on the field to the time he stepped off. Now, statistically wise, it's not going to be comparable to Herschel Walker because your receiving is not going to be you're not getting as many touches as a receiver. But to see what he did as a blocker, to see what he did as a receiver, and the fact that he's going to go down in some of the greatest Georgia stories ever because ending the 41-year drought. Yeah. So I think that's why, and we are in the infancy of his career ending because it's literally like he played his last game 30 days ago, almost not even. So time will tell, but I do think that 20 years from now, the way that people talk about Herschel Walker, and, I heard, he did 5,000 sit-ups and 5,000 push-ups every day and all those things. The legend of it is only going to grow more.
Used to race trains.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, so like the video of Brock Bowers running up the hill and during COVID, stuff like that, where it's like the story Kirby told in SEC Media Days. The legend of Brock Bowers is going to grow to a point where I think he will surpass Herschel Walker at some point, because, one, the exposure. Like, you can watch Herschel Walker highlights, but you can't go back and watch every game he played in. It wasn't televised by then. So I think history is going to be much kinder to Brock Bowers from GOAT status just because it's more accessible. It's more comparable. I mean, Georgia receivers were in track stances in 1980. Like, it wasn't the same. I think Buck Blue
Herschel Walker had me blocking for him.
Yeah, I think Buck Blue had like 1,000 passing yards in 1980. So it's like it's two different brands of football.
No doubt.
And it's football that's much more relatable to watch to the younger eyes. So I think as time goes on, Brock Bowers is going to be looked at as the Georgia GOAT.
Do you think Herschel's willingness to continue to be in the limelight? I mean, did Pros vs. Joes, I believe, did UFC fighting
Strike
for a
Force,
while.
yeah.
Like, we don't even have to get into the political stuff, but like he constantly stuck around.
Yep.
I think when Brock Bowers' college football, professional football career is done, he'll just buy a home in California and you'll never see from him. He'll probably go full granola. He'll probably live off the grid, never to be seen again.
I could totally see that happen, and that will somewhat hurt the legacy.
The Georgia
of
boys
Brock
got
Bowers.
Him into hunting. If you look at his Instagram, he's out here killing shit. So,
on and off the field, he's killing shit.
The field, he's out here killing shit. So yeah, maybe he just goes full granola, lives in a house in a cabin he built with his own bare hands, and didn't put it on social media.
The one thing I wanted to point out, because when I've had this thought myself, and honestly, for me it was, let's just stick them both in the same tier because if you look at the trajectory of their careers, it was very, very, very similar.
Very similar.
I mean, the stories of Herschel Walker getting to Georgia, it was exactly what you said. He was racing trains. He was doing sit-ups every night in his living room. Brock Bowers was running hills out in California, sent a video, and boom, now he's at the University of Georgia. This, like when Herschel Walker had his freshman run against Tennessee, that was it. It was history. When Brock Bowers got in against Clemson, that was it. That was history. Everybody knew that he was going to be special. Herschel Walker in the national championship game dislocates his shoulder. Nah, fam, put that sucker back in. We're going in. Brock Bowers hurts his ankle. Nah, dude, like we're doing surgery and I'm going to be back in 27 days. Like these guys are very, very similar, so we should just stick them in the same tier. They're both the GOATs at the University of Georgia.
You can have more than one GOAT.
Couple of goats cutting it up. You heard it here first. It is decided. No GOAT decision here on today's show. We'll let the chat decide. But I think one of the comments that I saw is very, very fitting. Two different eras of GOATs, right?
Yeah.
It's like some people have the Michael Jordan is my GOAT. Some people have the LeBron James is my GOAT. And, you know, the Michael Jordan people are wrong. And that's okay. I'm just kidding. I've kind of backed off that one as of late. Yeah, not loving how the end of that one's coming.
Yeah,
you know,
it's okay.
I don't like excuses. I once all the nasty flopping started happening and just the SAWT soft type stuff started happening, I kind of lost my love for my boy Bron.
Well, when you stick around in the league as long as he has, it's bound to change eventually, I guess.
Ain't no doubts about that one. All right, there's a lot of losses recently on this roster from the University of Georgia. I thought it'd be fitting for us to rank them. I didn't tell you how many. I got them 1 through 5. I'll go first here. I think the biggest loss, and by the way, Bowers not on the list. Okay, obviously Brock Bowers is a huge loss. We all know that one. Number 1, Cedric Van Pran Granger for me. 45 career starts. I forgot he started Cincy when I was counting those. 45 career starts in a row for him, and just his leadership and the way he kind of molded that offensive line group through 3 different position coaching changes. Everyone talks about his leadership and how much, you know, he talked to these players and how much he controlled at the line of scrimmage and how smart he was. 3 offensive line coaches in 4 years for him was a lot. And the reason that room was held together as well as it was, I think is a true testament to 63. Number 2, Kamari Lassiter.
Yeah.
Any lockdown corner like this is very, very valuable, particularly when you know for a fact that guy's going to be good. We don't have to worry about him. That's invaluable to a defense that likes to play as much man coverage as Georgia does. Number 3, I have Ladd McConkey. The explosivity that he provided to the offense for so many years was very, very vital. He got them out of stretches in games that were very troublesome, I think, over the years where they needed explosives and they needed to score quickly. 84 got them right. Javon Bullard, number 4 for me. Just what he meant to the defense entirely, the physicality that he played with, the playmaking ability that he provided, always in the right spot at the right time. He comes in at number 4. And I split the difference on number 5. I put both the running backs. They were both very, very serviceable and solid. I didn't want to pick one over the other.
So you know Marius?
You know what? I talked about it last night. And this is going to sound crazy. This is not a hot take. But how can I put you in a list of most meaningful and most impactful football players on this list when you only had 8 career starts?
That's fair. It's a fair point.
Like, you obviously – I'm not saying he didn't mean a lot, but he obviously didn't impact the 2 national titles that much, even though I think without him against Ohio State and Warren McClendon being down, you're in a deep pile of shit, okay? And he played great. And say, you know, I think you beat the shit out of TCU no matter what. And we all agree there.
Yeah.
But that Ohio State game was very, very vital, him being out there with Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau out there.
I think the way that I kind of look at losing Amarius Mims is very similar to how it was when you lose George Pickens. Did you really lose George Pickens? You never really had him in 2021. He had 2 really good catches in the season, but other than that, he wasn't really a factor to where losing him is still big, but Amarius Mims, 8 games, it's a first-round tackle. Like, it's not anything where it's like, oh, they grow on trees, but at the same point, his availability wasn't.
Way too many people in here, not enough thumbs up.
Honestly, I would put Javon Bullard at the top of my list just because I think that's the position when I think about like how much he impacted football games. That combined with the fact of I feel like that's a position that we have the most uncertainty around. Just kind of like we don't necessarily know what's going to happen at safety just yet. Now that question will be answered throughout the offseason. We'll get some more intel on that, kind of get a better idea of who's going to be there. But I think just the impact that Javon Bullard had, I think he's at the top of my list. I put Cedric Van Pran right behind him. Ladd McConkey's probably number 3 for me. Defensive back, honestly, it would probably be at 4. But also, like, I don't know if that's something to worry about. Just because you like now that if Humphrey does indeed come back and Harris sticks around and Ellis Robinson is what he is and ever continues to grow, like that position is going to get figured out. You're going to have plenty of talent there. But losing Kamari Lassiter alone, that talent alone is what makes that a key departure. So I think those would be my top 4 in that order.
I'd flip Kamari instead on your list, but other than that, I'm cool.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Y'all know I got some center bias up in my heart. Man, March is going to be a cool time around this channel. I'm just going to let y'all know. If everything comes through, March is going to be a really, really cool time. Okay? So let's hope for that. Fingers crossed. You know, when you start booking NFL guys, though, it's hard.
Yeah.
Schedules are tight.
Oh, yeah.
So
No
we're
doubt.
going to have to be on our feet and very malleable during that time of the year, boys. I'm just letting you know. Where are we at? We're 61 minutes in. Let's flip. Actually, let's do this. Was Georgia one of the best 4 teams? I think everyone was kind of addressing this topic on social media with their own takes. I'll do it this way, right? I think there are 5 teams up available for this discussion now with hindsight, right? We know this, in my opinion. Washington, Michigan, Bama, Georgia, and Texas, right? Those 5 teams were up for best at the end of the year. If Jordan Travis were healthy, we can play ifs, ands, and whats, Kansas nuts, all that good stuff. We can't, but we're going to eliminate them from this conversation for the fact that their quarterback was not available. I can 100% say that they were one of the best 5. I don't know how we sit here and confidently say after watching Michigan beat Bama, who beat you, okay, that they are better than that, and we watch Washington do what Washington has done and guarantee that you are better than that. The only toss-up here for me on paper, watching what we watched this weekend, is are they better than Texas? And I don't think that's fair to sit here and place a solid, guaranteed, I think this, without having seen those 2 teams play. I came down to the fact that there are 5 great teams, and it sucks that we can only boil it down to 1. But I really came away with it thinking, how in the hell did you ever think 12-team playoff was a bad thing for college football? And I came to the realization today that it does impact the severity and the importance of the regular season, the fact that we are going to 12. But if October's football game means less than it normally does, okay, or the loss in that football game means less than it normally does, but at the end of the year, I feel much, much more safe and much, much more certain about who was crowned the champion, knowing that they are truly the best, then I'm okay with that trade-off. And that's where I kind of settled with it after doing this little mental gymnastics today of, I don't know. I don't know if at the end of the year we're going to truly find out who was the best team, because there were 5 best teams. And I'm also here to tell you.
I think there were 6.
6. Who would you go?
I'd put Oregon in there.
Oregon, because they lost to Washington twice and very close.
Yeah,
both
if
times.
Washington wins a national championship, Oregon's only 2 losses are by 3 points to the national champion on the road and in a conference championship. So
and again, I think this is a byproduct. The reason we have so many, and this is rare. We've never. We've never had 6 good football teams like this. And if Travis is healthy, 7, right? We've never had this many good football teams. And this is 100% a byproduct of the portal.
Oh, yeah.
100% a byproduct of the portal. The fringe football teams, the top 12 football teams, the top 15 football teams, if they load up once, we're watching it right now with Ole Miss, if they load up at the right time with the right nucleus, they're going to be a top 6, top 7, top 8 football team. And guess what? We needed the college football playoff expansion. And I'm fine that we finally, I'm happy that I finally came around to it. I'm also man enough to admit that I was wrong. Like, you give enough takes in this business, you feel strongly enough, you're going to be wrong every once in a while. I guess I'm the only one that admits when he is wrong, because that was the surprising thing that I found this weekend. It's like, I guess no one owns up when they're an idiot.
I still am leaning towards it's not right. In a situation like this, yes, absolutely it's right. But I how many times a year are you going to have every Power 5 conference has a champion that has either 1 loss or is undefeated?
I think you're getting too tied up in the 1-loss undefeated things and not absorbing the confirmation or the conversation for who is the best. Ignore because you just did it with Oregon. You ignored the 2 losses because they were to Washington.
Right.
So if we're just going to do who's the best, that's always going to be an eye test up for debate, discussion that we never have proof of concept for. We never have tangible evidence for. But with a 12-team playoff, by God, we're gonna. Except for Tulane and Liberty getting skull drugged by whoever they play in that first round. That was ugly.
I can think of multiple times where Georgia has had multiple losses over the last 20 years, and there was an argument like, dang, you put them in the national championship, there's a very good chance that they win the Natty. I don't really care for the whole thing of people saying, oh, well, Georgia's definitely one of the 4 best teams, because I don't want to speak of something that is fact when we don't know that as fact. And I think that a lot of people were surprised by how the college football playoff semifinal games went. And based on how those results were, I don't think you could confidently say that Georgia's one of the 4 best teams. Do I think – now, like I just mentioned earlier, though, like, do I think if you put them in the semifinal games that they have a legitimate shot of going in there and winning the next 2 games? Absolutely. But I don't want to speak of something that is a fact that isn't fact.
Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up. It is our national hour. Hey, if you've listened to this one, give us a shot to be your home for National College Football Conversation. Coming up next. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back. I personally believe Mike Norvell's system works best with an athletic quarterback, like a real runner, like a guy that can really get after it. Elusive, electric, can really add in, can do a whole bunch of different stuff. I wouldn't classify DJ Uiagalelei as that. The news today, yesterday. DJ Uiagalelei committed to play at Florida State. Can DJU run quarterback counter, quarterback power? Yeah. Do we want him running that like 12, 15 times a game? No, I don't think he does either. I think he, deems himself a real quarterback, like a real pocket passer, like a real pro-style quarterback, real like 1990s gunslinger type dude. I think that's what he is. Now, he is athletic. He's extremely athletic. I think we saw that some at Oregon State. But here's my real problem. So, like, maybe he could KJ Jefferson this thing, but I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think he wants to do that to his body in his final year of college football. But here's my question about this whole thing. And if Florida State fans are listening to me right now, here's my proposition to you. Where is the growth? Where has been the progression of this athlete? Where has he gotten better? You know what I mean? Like, we thought that there was going to be this, it was all Clemson's fault going into Oregon State. And if you look at it just on paper, it was very similar performance. The offenses were slightly different, right? The depth of target was drastically different. The difficulty of throw from Clemson to Oregon State was drastically different. But in terms of the outcome, not really. The outcomes didn't change here, right? It was still a very inaccurate, inconsistent quarterback play from DJ Uiagalelei. And here's the deal. I hope that this one works out. I hope that this guy ultimately reaches the ceiling that is available because, man, like he can throw it with anybody on this planet, but it's just never been there. Like here's the definition of no progression. The best start that I've seen DJ Uiagalelei make was his first career start against Notre Dame. That's not great, Bob. Like, we've seen 3 years of college football. We'll be going into our 4th. Here's the thing. I think DJ Uiagalelei could be a starting MLB pitcher tomorrow. Yeah. This guy's 96 off the bump, and that might be the actual career path for this individual. But, make your money in college football being a transfer quarterback, I guess, is the MO right now. Welcome in, by the way, to our National Hour.
I think it's good that you got yourselves a veteran quarterback because I think that is one of the requirements now of if you're going to compete for a national title, you need to have a veteran quarterback. And as Christian mentioned yesterday, that typically comes from the transfer portal. It typically comes from a guy that transfers from a school and goes to a different place. I think I think it's good for Florida State that they went and got someone like that, but I also don't know that DJU is going to be the guy that heavily contributes to you and is the major reason why you do play for a national title if that is what you're destined to do. So I just think it's probably a little bit of a step back maybe from Jordan Travis, but at least you can go into a season with confidence knowing that you have an experienced veteran guy in college football.
Yeah, when I saw it pop up on my timeline, I was like, it just was weird. It was like, is that the best Florida State can do?
It was all that's left over.
Yeah, I guess so. But it just felt like, and no disrespect to DJU, but it felt like a slight move backwards from the quarterback position.
No, definitely.
I mean, there's nothing really DJU can do that makes me say, okay, well, he does this better than Jordan Travis did.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting to me.
Maybe throw the deep ball?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe bigger
Just
arm.
in terms of distance?
Yeah, bigger arm,
Plus,
but
I don't know what they're going to do weapons-wise. I don't know what they have coming up weapons-wise, but
Hakeem Williams was one of the best high school athletes I've ever evaluated at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
He was nuts. That kid's put on 20 pounds since he's been in college, and you can't tell me anything different. I've seen him up close now. I went down there to the Orange Bowl, obviously got to see him. That concerns me when I see like within a year that kid is a completely different projection for me. The projection was maybe he's Julio Jones. Now it's I don't know, like what it's not going to be Julio,
Panthers
not right
Kelvin
now.
Benjamin?
Huh?
Panthers Kelvin Benjamin.
I was thinking FSU Kelvin Benjamin,
That's
like
good
which
too.
is still good.
Still great.
It's not Julio.
No.
It's not Julio.
No.
But yeah, I mean, like when I see things like that, I have genuine concerns because, you know, Mike Norvell obviously didn't develop Keon Coleman. Mike Norvell, I mean, Johnny Wilson, yeah, some development there.
Yeah.
Right? That he gets credit for that one, but I wonder about the weapons, like what's going on at the running back position as well down there. Like in terms of reloading, I think that's maybe why they acted like they wanted to take their ball and go home because they knew what the deal was.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was the window for this team.
What are the odds this is not to the extreme and obviously not for other reasons? What are the odds this is a Mel Tucker situation?
I don't believe that to be the case.
I
get what
don't
you're
either.
saying though.
Yeah.
Like one like flash in the pan type season.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is he recruited at a top 5 level this year. He maximized it. What concerns me is when I see like now I know they did it without the name brands and without the big 5 stars or whatever, but like how is Washington about to play for a national title and finishing 60th in recruiting?
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
Very weird.
That's weird to me, like just in general. So, yeah, DJU out there to FSU. We'll see about the fit. I don't necessarily love it. Welcome in to NBR. We got a loaded one for you. LSU completely re-racked their defensive staff, fired 4 guys today. We're going to talk about it. Sounds like Will Howard, the transfer quarterback from Kansas State, has circled the home or at least penciled in a potential home. The national title betting line is out, and we want to talk about some of that and the mythical lines that have been made available regarding the 2 teams facing off in the national title. Speaking of the national title, very clash of styles type
Very
here
much.
in this football game. We're going to talk about that. And our favorite segment of the night, we're going to drop some early takes for 2024. And, boys, I got some spicy ones.
I got some good ones too.
I got some spicy ones. So welcome in. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate and review, and all that good stuff. I know most of you who are in here right now have been in with us most of the night tonight. We are greatly appreciative of you. That time spent watching number has been absolutely out of this world on this channel as of late, and that is a testament to you guys, and shouts out to 20K. We're going to give them 3. One more time, just because it's a big milestone for us, and I'm excited about the next one that we're going to put on the board today. We're going to put a buffalo out in front of us to run down as a collective buffalo. And we're going to knock that sumbitch over, and we're going to let the wolves eat it. All right? That's what we're going to do. So, yeah, let's talk about this LSU defensive staff. Brian Kelly fired 4 defensive coaches in one day today. 4. Fired his DC, which was known. Like, we knew that one was going to happen. Fired his cornerbacks coach, fired his safeties coach, and fired his defensive line coach, Jimmy Lindsey. Now, this is the one where, like, I'm good. I understand. It was horrible. It was, like, historically bad, I would imagine, and we're going to get the numbers from you. Historically bad from an LSU defensive perspective. But when you fire a defensive line coach that you stole and hired away from a South Carolina roster 8 months ago, he hired Jimmy Lindsey in May of last year, and he has fired this dude already. I personally think that is bad coaching juju when you do that to an individual. Jimmy Lindsey is a guy that's very well respected in the world of defensive line coaching, like very well respected. Did a great job at South Carolina, so much so that LSU poached him, and now he is looking for a job. And not only that, spent some time in some health concerns this year. And I get why what happened today had to happen. I think it's bad coaching juju, and I don't like putting bad coaching juju out in the world.
It very much did feel like a CYA type of thing where it's like we got a clean house. It doesn't even have to be performance based. Yeah, because I mean, let's be real. The expectations LSU had coming into the season were not met whatsoever. Yeah, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. That's awesome, but you guys were supposed to be contending for a national title, and you were eliminated pretty early in the season.
How bad was it?
I got 4 different numbers that'll tell you how bad it was. 2020 is the only other year since 2009 in which LSU ranked 80th or worse for scoring defense. They allowed more yards on defense this season than 90 FBS teams had total on offense in 2023. LSU's opponent third down conversion rate this season would have ranked in the top 25 offensively this season. LSU allowed more touchdowns in the red zone this season than Baylor, Nebraska, Stanford, Wake Forest, and Mississippi State had all season on offense.
Good God.
Ooh. We might have burned the whole staff after that.
Yeah, I mean, Bloody Tuesday was needed.
Yeah, no shit. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of yardage as well. Really, really bad. But here's the thing. Doesn't that say just as much about Brian Kelly's coaching selection practices than anything else?
Sure, absolutely.
Like he had all the money in the world to go out and hire his best version of a defensive staff.
All the momentum in the world.
I think it also is a testament to roster management. I mean, Harold Perkins was a phenom his freshman year, and I know they made a position change for him, but he has not been the same guy he was in 2022.
Now, this is going to sound crazy because it's LSU. I mean, it's LSU. Like, you should be able to coach defense there no matter what. It should be on paper just in terms of lore, historical context. Like, LSU should be one of the best defensive coaching jobs in the planet or on the planet. How good is this job right now? Like, as
a DC?
Listen to me. Mason Smith hasn't decided whether or not he's going to declare for the NFL draft. But Mason Smith just had one of the worst career years for him and for what that dude is. Very down year. Very same thing for Harold Perkins. You only got one more year of him guaranteed anyways, you would imagine. Maybe he sticks around for 4. Who knows? But it didn't look great, especially at the inside linebacker position. There was no growth for him there at a spot that he wants to play. So there's that, right? Our best players are having down years. We're going to have to rebuild 5 stars. There's that. But there's also the fact that it seems like the entire defense revolted against the previous staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was allowed. Like, that was allowed in your building. That at the end of bowl games, you got defensive, captains telling your defensive coordinator to basically F off, I'm going to the league. Like, I'm done with this shit. Like, you're trash. And then you got players today when it was announced, or yesterday when it was announced that all these guys are getting shit canned. He literally on his Instagram story, one of their best defensive players, had a handful of rocks and kicked them. Like, told those guys to go kick rocks, metaphorically. So I love LSU defensively. I love the state of Louisiana in terms of the ability and proximity to elite defensive talent. That being said, good luck. Like that it should be a quick turnaround. But then again, what are they going to do at defensive back? That problem didn't get solved.
No.
The problem of they have nobody playing DB did not get solved.
And that was the weird thing for me about LSU's defense this year is that, like, a place like LSU, you can have deficiencies at places. Like, you
can't be defense.
I'm saying, like, you can have, like, position deficiencies on defense, but, like, one of those position groups ought to be really freaking good, specifically defensive backs. Like, LSU should be able to recruit defensive backs like Alabama is wide receiver. Like, you just go stick your hand on the recruiting trail and you pick one up just by accident. It's like by happenstance almost, because that's kind of the repertoire and that's kind of the resume that you built yourself, is that we get defensive backs. You claim yourself as DBU more times than not. So for them to just be all around bad, I mean, from up and down bad, it's a weird look, especially knowing that, like, you had a really good season in first year and then you took such a far step back on defense this next year.
It's just weird to watch in general, just the trajectory of this team coming into the season compared to now. And I don't know what snapped. Like, what's so different from 2022 to 2023? I can't figure that out.
in terms of
like why the response to coaching has been so bad, why the talent output has been so bad. Like, why is Mason Smith and Harold Perkins having their worst seasons? Obviously, there's different schemes and position changes going into that, but why are they playing so bad?
I think that you could make the argument that from week one, they felt their season was tainted. I think that you could make the argument that those players in that locker room felt like, well, there it is. Like, that was our chance. Now we got to go try and run this gauntlet in the SEC and try and survive. And we don't feel like that. Maybe we have the best opportunity, the best chance to do so. And I think that it was very easy, especially with how rough things went very quickly for them. Places like that, man, if you don't have a tight grip around your locker room, if you don't have a tight grip around your culture, things slip very easily. Things go downhill very quickly. And unless you're Jaden Daniels battling for a Heisman and you're battling for draft stock and your Malik Neighbors trying to fight for your draft stock, people are going to say, like, all right, whatever, like, screw it, man. I don't care.
I remember going back and studying LSU in multiple different games this year. I felt like we watched them, and you know, players wise, they didn't have the guys. Not that they normally do, but there was also a bunch of schematic stuff that just made no sense. Like, they never once spied Jalen Milroe. They just rushed 4 all night and just let him rush. I think he rushed for 21 attempts for like $190. It's like, what are you doing? Get fired. That's what you're doing. I was honestly a little surprised they waited this long to do it to their DC. Yeah. But the defensive line coach after 8 months, that's
so weird.
That's really weird, man. That's, again, bad coaching juju. Bunch of people wondering, myself included, if Jim Harbaugh does go to the NFL, do you think Brian Kelly maybe goes to Notre Dame?
To Notre Dame?
Yeah. Would Brian Kelly – or not Notre Dame, excuse me.
Michigan?
To Michigan.
Be hard not to.
I mean, he's a Northeastern guy.
Yeah.
Be really hard not to. I mean –
just a thought, like – if Jim Harbaugh does leave, like, are they going to promote Sharon more? Like, what are they going to do?
I mean, say what you want about Michigan. That's a top job in college football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is arguably
is
the king of college football. You want to talk about bringing in, pulling in
LSU?
Ratings, and is it bigger than LSU?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think Michigan.
Numbers-wise, it is.
I think it absolutely
Money-wise,
is.
yeah, I think from a recruiting standpoint, LSU has the advantage.
Now, proximity to talent, yeah. LSU
yeah, absolutely.
Does. But in terms
part.
of assets and what's made available to you and all that good stuff, yeah, Michigan.
So I think it'd be really hard.
Chat's saying it's Sharon Moore's job to lose. I would imagine we got some Michigan fans listening to us anyways.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of how, especially the fact that you had to have some interim coaches this year, would be hard not to just go ahead and hire internally for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they'll end up doing, honestly. I mean, Harbaugh coached 6 games this season.
Yeah.
like he's been there. He'll have coached less than 50% of the schedule.
I mean, it was noticeable. It was palpable how much better the offensive coordinating was done when Sharon Moore was just being a coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you got to worry about that if he ultimately takes the job. But, yeah, that's a very interesting discussion there. Will Howard going to take an official visit to Ohio State this weekend after having already OV'd to Miami and one other school, I believe, he's already taken an OV to. And here's what tipped me off to this one. Okay, notable, like very notable, very front-facing Miami super booster, Mike Ryan, executive producer of the Dan Le Batard Show, tweeted today that Will Howard and Ohio State has been a done deal for 2 weeks. That Will Howard's representation let Miami know on his official visit that, like, we're here. I mean, we're here because we have to be here, but we're going to Ohio State. So it sounds like this one's a done deal. And I got to be honest, I don't know what to think about this one here. He's played in 34 games, and he's been highly, highly inefficient doing so. 58% completion percentage with a 7.4 yards per attempt. Now, we just got done talking about DJU. DJU completed less than 60% of his balls this year, but averaged almost 9 yards an attempt. So he was driving the ball down the field. Like I said, the difficulty of throw was much, much higher for him than it was here. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I study Kansas State football. I don't. But I know Skylar Thompson completed 70% of his balls on that team in 2021. And I know that Skylar Thompson beat Will Howard out for his job. I also know that one of the 17,000 Martinez brothers that have been playing quarterback in the Big Ten and the Big 12 was also on this roster and beat Will Howard out and also completed 65% of his passes. So it ain't the system. It must be Will Howard. And what you must say is, oh, well, he must protect the football. Maybe there's some selective throwaways here. You'd be wrong. 48 touchdowns in his career to 25 interceptions. He's basically 2-1. Every touchdown he throws, he's going to throw a pick. Here's my thing. I don't understand this. I really don't. I don't know why this guy is, and maybe he goes to Ohio State and lights it up, and this will be a great soundbite. But I have a long history of not only this dude not even being good enough to start at Kansas State, okay, getting beat out by the likes of Skylar Thompson, who is an NFL football player. Okay, he's on the Miami Dolphins roster. But a Martinez who, you know what I mean? Like, nah, not great, Bob. All right, so this is the history and this is the track record of Will Howard. This is a running quarterback who has a propensity to turn the football over and be a strugglesome passer. You had Devin Brown on your roster. What are you doing? Like, that's what you just passing up to apparently do this one. Boys, this one to me does not make very much sense.
This to me screams we were all in on Cam Ward. Cam Ward basically said, actually, I think I'll go to the draft. And you panicked and were like, we got to take someone.
I just don't think it makes any sense for Howard in general, because if that's what your stat line was at Kansas State, why on earth are we going to a place like the Big Ten? I know that they're going to add in some other opponents, but why are we going to a place that is loud and proud about defense and being a great defense? So they do have some very great defenses up there. Why are we putting ourselves in that position to go play against that when it seemed like also like I mean obviously I don't have intel on the Walker Howard camp, but could have gone to a place like USC, who is going to go to the Big Ten, but like, man, at least you're going to be with Lincoln Riley and you're going to be an offense that maybe you can do something. I don't know. That's weird to me.
The completion percentage is staggering.
Yeah. And it's weird to me because like when he entered the portal, everybody's like, that's the number one guy in the portal right now. Like, that's the best quarterback in the portal right now. That's kind of how people made it out to be.
I ain't gonna act like I've been sitting out here grinding tape on Kansas State football, but that has always been a well-balanced rushing attack.
Yep.
Every year. Like every year. They run the football. They got good line of scrimmage play. They're going to be physical. They're going to do all that stuff. They're not going to be out here tossing it around 45 times a night.
Heck, the Vaughn kid was the offense last year.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn was the guy.
He was the dude.
And by the way, like, I don't love that this guy was – I mean, he ended up being the guy in both those seasons, right? Skylar Thompson, I think, either got hurt or ultimately they ended up going the Will Howard direction. The same thing happened with the Martinez kid. They opened the season with Martinez. They ultimately go to Will Howard, and he performs the way that he had. But, this is a far drop from like, oh, yeah, we got the next guy that's going to come in and potentially be in the Heisman race. I mean, I would have rather seen Ohio State take a stab at like Riley Leonard over this.
Yeah.
How much does this warm up Ryan Day's seat? Because I mean, you're at the point now where the last 2 months haven't been great for you. You got boxed by Michigan again. You had a poor showing in the bowl game against an SEC team, and now you're going out and getting a quarterback that, let's be honest, isn't going to light the world on fire. We don't think so.
Is Harbaugh staying in Michigan?
We'll get to that.
Because that's all that's going to matter. Like, that's all Michigan fans care, or Ohio State fans care about right now. Are we good enough to beat Michigan? And if Jim Harbaugh's gone, you do not fire your coach. You do not, because you now became the stability point in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that ultimately weighs in on how much of a hot seat this guy has.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, the grass always greener type deal, but you know you got the greenest lawn in the neighborhood if Ryan Day's your head coach and Michigan's coachless.
Yeah.
Right? You get beat by Sharon Moore again, though.
Well, I mean, do you at this point? Because you've got the eventual – I mean, Washington's going to be in your conference.
Yeah.
Oregon's going to be in the conference.
Yeah.
So it's like –
both those teams taking a step back next year, you would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to know what USC is going to do.
That's my next – it's not just USC. It's Miami, too.
Yeah. Is
like
it
USC and Miami are out to dry right now.
Miller Moss, I guess?
Yeah, you roll with Miller Moss through for 6 tuds.
Didn't look – I mean, it looked great in the bowl game, but –
Shouts out Lincoln Riley's quarterback development.
Hey, shout out to that. But, I mean, I don't know. It just, like, especially with the timing of everything, it was like, all right, Singleton gone. He's no longer here. Obviously, that means that, A, maybe that doesn't mean Lincoln Riley was necessarily a believer in him, but B, they see someone that's better in the portal that they want to take, and it looked like it was going to be Howard. That seemed like who they had kind of circled in. That's kind of what everybody assumed they were going to take. And now you look at the QB market, and it went from, holy crap, there's a bunch of names in here, to who are you going to get now? Like, what are you going to do?
Chat's talking about how Ryan Day had and lost Quinn Ewers. That was pre-Jesus Quinn. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Mullet Quinn doesn't count. Kombucha Kim or Kombucha Quinn.
Kombucha Cowboy.
Yeah, Kombucha Quinn don't count. So yeah, but no, I don't know what these teams do now. Like
The Coastal Carolina kid?
bro, is Grayson McCall going to do that 2 years in a row? I thought he had a place.
Oh, maybe.
What
Who
about
am I thinking of? The kid that
Toledo
just hit the portal.
guy.
The Toledo guy's still available, I think.
No, who am I thinking of? Dadgummit.
Oh, Caden Salter
That's who I was thinking
Yeah.
of.
from Liberty.
Liberty.
That's what's
Liberty.
left. Caden Salter is what's left. Do you know why Caden Salter had to leave Tennessee? He committed to Tennessee.
Did not know
He
that.
was a Tennessee recruit, went to the Elite 11. Before we start, never mind. Young kid, stupid mistake. It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
How about the information coming out about Jeremy Pruitt saying, I don't want Michael Penix, get him out of here?
Yeah,
That's
was nuts.
crazy.
Oops.
Just proves that Jeremy
Yeah.
Pruitt should have never been a head coach
Didn't
at
the
a football
same thing
program.
happen with Joe Burrow and Scott Frost?
I don't know.
I feel like Joe Burrow wanted to go to Nebraska, and they basically told him, get out of here.
That's such
Get
a
outta
Scott
here.
Frost story.
Yeah.
Good
Just like
Lord.
it's such a Jeremy Pruitt moment.
That timeline doesn't quite add up.
Yeah.
He was at UCF during that, right? During Joe Burrow's recruitment?
Yeah, when he would have been coming out of high school.
Yeah.
No, Joe Burrow, when he
Talking about his transfer
wanted to
years?
transfer to Nebraska.
Oh, yeah. No, you're an idiot then. You're an idiot then at that point.
Oops.
But yeah, the quarterback discussion at Ohio State got real thin real quick. We started talking about how at one point that was the greatest quarterback room in the country, attached to the greatest wide receiver room in the country, and now it's like y'all got some mid.
Where did Ty Thompson end up?
That's a great question.
Don't know.
Google.
Because part of me feels like that's got to be the best option. Even if he isn't in the portal right
How
now, you
did they
try your
not
best
go
to
all in
poach.
on Malik Murphy? Like, what were they doing?
I don't know.
If the idea or the plan was to go get a transfer quarterback, they significantly failed.
Yeah.
They significantly failed.
Ty Thompson has not announced a destination, so he's still available.
I mean,
So weird.
that's got to be. I think that's your number one quarterback right now.
Maybe Oregon and USC do a little flip-flop or something like that. I don't know.
A trade.
Where'd
Yeah,
Malachi
basically.
Nelson end up?
He's at Oregon, isn't he?
No, that's Dante Moore and Dylan
Oh,
Gabriel.
That's right.
Malachi Nelson, the kid that transferred out of USC, hasn't announced where he's going yet.
Mm-mm.
And that one was down to Tulane, an SEC school, and someone else, I think. But yeah, there's still some quarterbacks left, but a lot of teams.
Yeah,
that
he
need
hasn't
them.
announced a decision either.
Yeah, so all right, we still got some talent out there in the quarterback market, but Ohio State circling Will Howard to me is very, 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 very weird. Let's talk about this national title betting line. Michigan opened as a 4.5-point favorite in this football game. I pose it to you guys first before I get into it. What do you think? What do you think? 4.5. Be quick.
It's appropriate.
Do you like it?
I think it's appropriate because the way, yes, Washington won that football game, but Texas was moving the ball well. You negate 2 fumbles from Texas, I think they win that game. And Michigan is a team that will stubbornly run the football at you, aggressively run the football at you. And with the newfound offensive schemes that they have with Harbaugh, where it's a lot of trickery, not trickery, but a lot of eye candy to isolate man coverage, I think Michigan has the advantage right now.
I think it's
offensively at least.
I think it's in a good vicinity. I think that I probably would have rather be seen open at 3.5, 1 point
Yeah.
less. I think that's the range that I would have preferred it to be at.
It made sense to me, right? Like Michigan is the team that's probably going to receive most of the public money, like first and foremost. Michigan also is Vegas's team. Like I think we learned that last week. Vegas watched 80% of that money come in on Alabama, and they didn't shake a leg. In fact, they bumped it the other way. So Vegas obviously thinks Michigan's a really, really good freaking football team.
When the line bumped up to 3 before kickoff, I was like, oh, dude, this might be interesting.
Yeah, So Michigan knows something that we don't, or excuse me, Vegas knows something that we don't know about Michigan.
Vegas always knows.
They're the number one fan, it seems like to me. And again, they'll watch a bunch of money come rolling in on Michigan to try to get that blind to bump, I would imagine. And here's what I think the number is fine. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know how to pick it either way, but I keep coming back to this, right? And I know it's way early for picking this football game, but I'm just trying to explain the line here in my mind, and this is how I did it. I know Michigan's defense is great, right?
Yes.
But I also know Washington's offense is great.
Yes.
I know Michigan's brand of football and the way that they play offense is good to borderline great, like the
Yes.
way that they go about their business. I can't say that about the fourth unit in this football game. I can't go into a football game thinking that Washington's defense is good to great.
No, you cannot.
So that I think it's worth 4.5 points.
I think what you also have to consider is Michigan's ability to get after the quarterback. I mean, we saw it in Alabama. They can peel their ears back and get after you. Michael Penix had a lot. Now, they've got the Joe Moore offensive line, but Michael Penix, when he doesn't have time to throw, and there are going to be times where he's rushed, what does that look like?
He looked great against Texas, by the way. His pocket mobility was elite.
Yeah, he had great pocket, but he had a great pocket as well.
Yeah, at most of the time.
I don't know. I can't affirm. I haven't come to. I want to say Michigan. In my heart, I just kind of feel like Michigan just has everything going for them. Everything that I feel like is required for you to go in there and win a national title. I feel like Michigan has. I don't know that I can say the same about Washington, but I also know that on any given day, man, an offense like Washington, they can beat anybody.
Yeah.
And so that's what keeps holding me back of just saying, I'm going all in on Michigan because of what Michael Penix and that offense has continued to do this whole year. I mean, even when it hasn't looked great, they've been able to do enough. It's literally what they said during the game. They continue to find a way. And so
10 straight victories of 10 points or less.
Yeah, and doing it in a variety of styles, right? They've won rock fights, they've won shootouts, they've kind of done it in a variety of ways, and the playing tight games means a lot come down to the end of the year.
Yeah,
knowing how to get out of these situations and being calm within them. Go ahead.
I just was also going to say I don't know if they've seen a defense like this.
No, they have not.
So I don't even know if you've seen really anything close to it.
No. Texas is front.
Texas has a very good front.
Texas is front, but they don't have the defense.
But they also lost their best player for a big portion of that game.
Still haven't figured that out.
I don't know what happened there.
Didn't hear anything.
Xavier Worthy also not in the last offensive drive.
Yeah,
either.
weird.
Yeah, you're right.
I thought about it last night. Steve Sarkisian did something that I didn't expect him to do. He didn't die going to do his dudes. You know what I mean? Like, great coordinators, in my opinion, they go down swinging and with their best guys.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from even AD, like the touchdown that he had, he was very visibly pissed off that they just now gotten the ball.
Yeah.
That is a sign to me that, even your best players weren't thinking that they were being used properly in that football game. So that was a bit of a concern for me for Sark moving forward. But bottom line, the 4.5 number makes a little bit of sense. The one that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I don't necessarily love doing them, but we're going to do it anyways, the mythical lines, right? There was some Georgia versus these two teams on a neutral site. Was this from FanDuel, DraftKings, whoever did it?
It was from Hard Rock, I think.
All right, so shouts out to the Hard Rock. They got $400 of my dollars this past weekend.
Nice.
But what do you think about these mythical lines? Because Georgia was favored over both of these football teams on a neutral
I think
field.
they were 6.5 against Washington, were they not?
6.5 against Washington. I think it was 2.5 against Michigan. So.
Definitely helps all these Georgia fans. I want to say they're one of the four best. And that, it can confirm or deny any theory that you want to say.
Did it take two titles for this? Because I remember very recently Georgia being a dog against Alabama in one of these football games. But, I think it was both the national title and the SEC championship game.
Georgia's actually been favored over Bama the last 3 times.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
The last 3 times they have been favored.
All right, so Bama been favoring the dogs for a minute.
Yeah.
Is that just a talent discrepancy thing?
I think it's a talent discrepancy in what Bama's put on the field the last 3 years. Like, there's been more cracks in the dam than ever with these Bama teams. Now, they seem to dry up and get sealed whenever they come to play Georgia, but you watch an Alabama team of the last 3 years and then go watch a 2016, 2017, even that 2020 team, very different, much more mistake-heavy, much less discipline. You mess up a snap 2 plays in a row, that's not Alabama football.
I think that maybe something that we aren't taking into account as well is that these hypothetical lines that are being set in place are also probably under the assumption that Brock Bowers, fully healthy, Ladd McConkey, fully healthy. All these guys that enter the portal probably are not in the portal. They're probably waiting until after this game would be played to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And so you look at Georgia as fully loaded against a Michigan and a Washington, and just looking at what they just did to Florida State, which I know you can say what you want, but still 60 points in a bowl game is 60 points in a bowl game.
Okay. You talked about the say what you want about all that stuff about Florida State. I want to say this before we move on. As a fan base, if you are a Florida State fan, you have to take 63-3 comments every single time. You have to. And here's why. Your football team had an opportunity to go out and prove everything that you're in the mentions talking about. How y'all should have been in it. All this good stuff. You had the opportunity right there to prove everybody in the world that you were going to do it, right? That you had the foot to stand on. And say what you want about the crushing, heartbreaking loss that was not being in the Final Four, and I can't sit here and sympathize with that. I can have empathy for you, right? I can try to guess what that feels like for you, but you don't get to win these arguments. You don't get to call people stupid and say that they lack football intelligence for throwing up 63-3 in your face. You had the opportunity to show up and prove that you were indeed one of the best 4 teams. You didn't. All of your football players opted out. You got beat by 60 in a game that mattered to some. So you can't come out and do the, we'll never know. Yeah, we won't ever know, and that's your fault. We won't know. You had the opportunity, and you chose not to do so. And, yeah, it was a meaningless game, but one team showed up. One team mattered.
I do think the inverse of that, though, is you can't hold this loss against Florida State.
No, you can't.
As a point this proved they're not a 4 best team.
And I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you
What
are.
I'm doing is you can't come out and say that, we'll never know. You're right. We will never know. But we could have. We could have if you showed up, and you chose not to. So that opportunity was taken off the board for you to win these hypothetical arguments and these mythical arguments because you just didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was worth a little sidebar there.
Absolutely.
Clash of styles. What happens when a Ferrari meets a Humvee?
Humvee wins.
Humvee wins? But what if it's on a sport track?
Yeah, we're doing a race, or are we doing?
Oh yeah, that's you said head on. I'm
just talking about in general, like when these types of I don't know if we've had one of these. Like I went through the college football playoff history today. How name another college football championship matchup that's had this different and drastic of styles?
Maybe you could say LSU Clemson.
Both quarterback dependent air raid type teams or spread offense type teams. One of them relying on defensive line play.
First one that comes to mind for me is 2013 FSU Auburn.
Oh yeah. One triple option based offense versus a bunch of dudes.
Yeah. What was Notre Dame's 2012 offense? I know that with Everett Golson, it was.
That was pre-playoff, right?
Yeah, that was the last. That was the last PCS.
I mean, you could say Georgia and Oklahoma in 2017. I think you could put that in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no, that's it. That's
are we
the
just
one
doing
right
playoff
there.
games? Yeah.
I mean,
Georgia Oklahoma's
that felt like a national title game at times.
Yeah.
It was a great football game, but we haven't seen one of these in the end all be all. Mm-hmm. Like, holy hell, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen when
who's going to impose their will?
Yeah, who's going to play their brand of football and maintain that for 4 quarters? That's going to be the most fun and compelling part of this matchup to me. Is just how different these two football teams are.
Is this the most? And obviously, take your fandom out of it. Is this the most excited you've been for a national championship since the playoffs started?
This was the most excited I've been for a college football playoff in general in a while.
Since Oregon, Ohio State.
We knew there was a dud every year.
Yeah, we knew it, and everybody could see it from a mile away. And like some of us wanted to say that it was going to be Alabama, Michigan this year. Not going to point fingers at anybody or anything, but I mean, 2 great football games, and I kind of felt like it was going to be that way. And this national title, I think is going to be a fantastic football game.
You gonna do me like that?
I didn't say your name.
1.3 million.
Box their ass.
Yeah, I thought you still had the sound.
I don't have it pulled up right now.
But no, it was a bad day.
Yeah.
It was a bad day on Twitter yesterday for yours truly. But it's all right. You stand in the paint. The way I look at that, man, is like every once in a while, if you take your beating like a man, you might earn some respect for like 5 or 6 guys. Like 5 or 6 people might follow you, and they might stick with you because you took your L like a man.
Yeah, there was no spinning. It was
no. But how could you? How could you spin that tape?
Yeah,
My God.
Oh, someone would have found a way. You could have found a way to do it.
Yeah, I could have figured it out.
You could have found a way to do it.
Yeah, but nah. Totally different type of football team going off and facing off against each other.
We're looking forward to it other than the fact that it's going to kick off at 9 p.m.
Quit bitching.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's lame, dude. It's lame.
Bro, we kick off at 9 p.m. What are you talking about? We
Bro,
kick off our second hour, 9 p.m.
But
What a hypocrite.
last 2 years, I know you've been out at midnight.
Well, yeah, obviously.
it's like,
I'm
it
just
is
saying
what
it's
it is.
stupid.
Well, no, last year he wasn't. Last year he was working.
Last
Yeah,
year
but you were
it
out
was,
late. You were out late after that game.
Last year it was 6 o'clock when that game kicked off. A nice,
Local
nice
time,
cool
though.
6. Yeah, local time.
Somebody said, "Hey, my man, I love the channel. Today is my wife and her boyfriend's anniversary." Can I get a shout out? Shouts out to you, Brody. That's good quality shit right there. Early takes.
I got some.
Let's do it. I got some
2024?
early takes for 2024, like this one right here. Ole Miss will be labeled a disappointment in 2024.
You think disappointment?
Because here's the deal: if they don't make a college football playoff, they're cooked. Lane Kiffin's gonna have a very, very hard time going into boosters' buildings and boosters' houses and demanding another pay raise or demanding another influx of cash to go buy players. The roster, or the schedule's not gruesome, okay, but it is tough. It's an SEC slate at LSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, at Florida. Those are the 4 football games I circled at Florida to close the year. Guys, they have to go 10-2. If they do not go
Not the Egg
10-2, huh?
They're not playing in the Egg Bowl?
I mean, I don't know when that game is, but it's not the final game of the year. The slate on the
Okay,
schedule that I
you
looked
said
up today.
Florida closed the year. I was like,
No, they closed the year at Florida, is what I saw on the schedule. At the end of November, they're at Florida, is what I saw
Very
on the
interesting.
Ole Miss schedule. Confirm that for me. But either way, those are the 4 football games that I'm kind of circling on their schedule in 2024 as like, oh, watch out.
Florida's week before Egg Bowl.
Okay, sorry.
okay, good. I was like, what the?
But anyways, they're going to have to go 10-2 to make a playoff next year, we believe.
Correct.
Yes.
Will they do it?
I'm looking at it right now.
It's favorable. You get Georgia and Oklahoma at home. You don't play Bama, but you do have to go on the road to LSU midway through the year too, so it's not an early, LSU team. And that Florida team at the end of the year, you don't know what you're going to get.
No.
You really don't know what you're going to get out of that football team. Maybe Graham Mertz is playing for Heisman.
I mean, this is. Damn.
Just kidding.
I mean, this is certainly. I think out of any year Ole Miss has had, this is the most attainable to make a playoff.
Here's my thing. I'm solely not going to put all my chips in on Ole Miss due to the fact of I still cannot trust Lane Kiffin in big football games. I still cannot trust Lane Kiffin to go and run this slate and go into the college football playoff running hot. Like, yeah, sure, he puts on a great product, and this is going to be the most talent that he's had since he's arrived at Ole Miss. But, man, if I can't trust you in those big games, I mean, it's not the fact that, like, we can't trust you because, like, in key moments you made a stupid mistake and you lost by 3. I mean, it's been key moments of, like, we're going to play Alabama. We just got boat raced by 40. We're going into Athens. We just got 50 hung on our domes. Like, it's those types of, like, I really can't trust you in those moments.
Ole Miss, labeled a disappointment, 2024. You heard it here first.
My turn?
Yep.
The Heisman winner will not be a quarterback this year.
Who's it going to be then?
I don't know. It'll
You're
be
just taking the field?
Dude, I'm taking the field.
Travis
trust.
Hunter.
Oh.
No.
Just kidding, because you want to know what my take is?
What?
They're going to have a worse record this year than they did last year.
Colorado?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
You seen the
actually.
schedule?
Is it that much harder?
Oh,
I
man,
mean, they're in
let
the
me
Big
let me
12
pull it
now.
up
It's a
for
Big
you.
12 slate,
They're
right?
Big 12, dude.
Let
They're
me pull it
gonna
up for
With
you.
some, maybe they still have some Pac-12 non-conference
they're gonna
games
get
left over?
clapped in the Big 12. Dude.
Oh, my God.
Let me pull this thing up for
The
you.
Pac-12 was better than the Big 12 this year.
Why didn't I pull
Way better. Way better. Right? Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma.
Top was definitely heavier.
I'm going to read it off for you. You let me know.
All right.
You got to get 4 wins or
4.
more.
We got to find 4.
Or actually, let's say more
gotta
than
have
4.
5. We gotta
Let's
find
got to
5.
get 5 wins.
All right, here we go.
North Dakota State.
Win.
Still, though,
right, so
FCS
1.
gauntlet, man.
FCS is sneaky.
I'm giving it to him.
Yeah, we'll
1.
give it to him. We'll give it to him. At Nebraska, at Colorado State.
That's another one. They'll win one of those 2.
Okay, I'm cool with that. At Arizona,
Not
Utah,
looking great. Not
Baylor,
looking great.
Oklahoma State.
They can beat-
they'll get Baylor.
They can beat
They
Baylor.
can
think?
beat Baylor. They can.
They
plan
can.
to-
They might not, but they can. We'll put a little circle around Baylor.
Oklahoma State after Baylor.
No.
No.
Kansas State,
No.
Cincinnati,
Yes.
at Kansas,
No,
Maybe.
Rock chalk.
at Texas Tech,
Rock chalk. I'm putting a maybe.
at
on that.
UCF.
Maybe on Texas Tech.
They
maybe on
could.
UCF.
There's a whole lot of maybes.
whole lot of maybes.
But man,
A whole lot of toss-ups on that schedule.
But I think what we also kind of learned from like what Deion Sanders is trying to do in Colorado, don't take long for it to just just go crashing down and
The
burn.
leftover Pac-12 games right there are going to kick. Well, they're not. The Utah and Arizona are now in the Big 12. So
Yeah, so it's still
God,
all.
that's going to mess with me. Holy hell, that's going to mess with me for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be stumbling over conferences for quite a bit now.
Yeah.
What's your next
Damn,
take?
that is a tough one. James Franklin's seat is going to be turning up by the end of the year. And here's why. You're going to start hearing it. You're going to start hearing it loud and clear. Ohio State is obviously reloading right now. We just talked about their quarterback, struggles, if you will. Julian Fleming into the portal. Marvis Harrison Jr. obviously going off to the NFL, we presume, right? Opted out of the bowl game. Did Travion Henderson opt out of that bowl game as well?
Yes.
Okay, so going to the NFL there, reloading at the running back position, going to have to find 2 new defensive ends, going to have to find 2 new linebackers, going to have to find a plethora of defensive backs because they got hit by the portal worse than any contending Power 5 team, I believe, in the country. If you just measured bar for bar, transfer portal entry to transfer portal entry, I guarantee you Ohio State's got the highest number of any contending football team in Power 5 football right now. I think their number's well over 20 at this point. Will you Google that for me, how many Ohio State players are in the portal? It's creeping up there, okay? There's a lot of reloading going on there. And by the way, Michigan could very well be Harbaugh-less at this point in a month or two. They could be ballless, Harbaugh-less, all right? And what that would open the door for is Penn State fans thinking that they should win the Big Ten. And when you have a fan base with the expectations of championships and you don't live up to those, your seat's going to be hot, especially off of what it's been the last couple of years, last several years, with him having the inability to knock off one of these top teams in his own conference.
I like it. That's going to be interesting. Here's one for you. This is one of my spicy ones.
Come on.
The national championship this year will feature 2 teams that did not win their conference.
I like that. I like that. Not 12-team playoff. Maybe you lost a late SEC championship game, and then you put it together for a run because your starting tight end first rounder was hurt, your starting tackle first rounder was hurt, and your starting wide receiver who's a third rounder was hurt. Maybe.
Or you lost.
I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Though.
Or you lost to a team that had to beat you twice, pretty much kicked you out of playoff contention, and now you've ran through every other team you played, and then business is handled for that. You don't have to see them again.
And like some receiver on 4th and 2 may or not catch a football. It doesn't get reviewed.
Yeah. May or may not happen.
May or may not.
I think this is a great take to follow up your take.
So did you check on the portal number for me?
Oh, yeah. It was On 3 has 30 of them.
What?
But I don't know that that's all. That's what it said.
Holy shit.
If I counted
way
that
worse than I
correctly,
thought.
it said 30. I counted them.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fire Ryan Day.
I think Michigan has 2 losses next year. I think in the regular season, I think they have
Solid.
2 losses. But that goes into your take as well. Very well to go into the playoff.
Yeah.
And then go play for national championship. They got tough to schedule. I mean, they got Texas in there. They got USC. They got Washington. They got Oregon. And they got Ohio State to close out the season.
Texas and Oklahoma will finish no worse than 5th in the conference next year. Both of them.
Oklahoma scares me.
Really?
Yeah.
Worse than fit. What do you mean?
They will finish both of them within the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Right? I got Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas, right, as a real solid top 4.
I agree with that.
And then of the next list of teams, who do you guarantee right now is going to have a better record next year than Oklahoma? LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M.
Missouri.
All right. So
I would
you got
put-
Mizzou. You
yeah.
got Mizzou over Oklahoma?
Right now, I do, yeah. Who's playing quarterback for Oklahoma?
Jackson Arnold.
Okay.
General Booty.
It's gonna look better. General Booty ain't no way. General Booty still got eligibility.
Yeah, no way. Yeah,
Eligibility.
I don't know. Oklahoma's a little scary to me. They're still a little scary to me. But
I like them.
I think that Missouri's still got a lot of key guys come back, and they got a pretty solid recruiting class.
They lose most of their defense though, don't they?
Probably. They always got some old heads on defense, though.
They did.
They did.
They
but
don't. I don't think they will anymore.
I don't know. But they also had some pretty big defensive prospects that they
the chat's
recruited.
with you if that makes you feel any better.
Woo.
So
Heck
yeah. But yeah, I like that. Texas and Oklahoma no worse than top 5
All right.
finishes in the conference this year. What do you got? Anybody else?
All right, this is my.
I got Un Mas. No, 2 more. I got 2 more.
Go ahead and give one of yours.
Clemson's gonna get mollywopped to start the season.
Oh, I don't even know if that's a
Clemson's
hot
gonna get
take.
skull
I don't
drug.
even know if that's a hot take.
I mean, absolutely cooked. I think the line's gonna be 7.5.
Well, we
Like,
might.
at least
I'd go 9.
9, 10.
9. It's a
I
two-score
wanted
game.
to be
It's
a little light
two-score
on
off
this one.
rip.
2 score off rip.
I mean, Vegas is going to take 2 scores right off the bat.
Poor
It was
Dabo.
it was 11 against Oregon last year.
You're right. I think I
it
finished at
was.
12.
What was your other one?
Do you have one more? Or do you want me?
I have one final one. That
Okay,
I
we'll
want
let
to
you
end
wrap
with.
it up then.
All right.
We'll circle through because
All
I got
right,
one
so
more.
here's my spiciest one. With everything that's changed in college football, especially happening next year, you've got the 12-team playoff coming. NAL is more prevalent. Things such as that, external factors. Neither Nick Saban or Jim Harbaugh will be at their respective teams next year.
Oh, you're doing the both of them gone. One to the NFL, one to retire.
Yeah.
Man, would you have traded an Ole Miss or an Alabama another title Georgia fan for Nick Saban retirement? You wouldn't. You'd just rather play him.
I'd rather play.
Rather than have no more glory. if I'm speaking from his fan perspective, no more glory for you.
0.
Just whatever, dude. I don't care. I do not care. I'm sorry.
No more glory.
No
for
more
you.
glory. I'm sorry. You've had enough of it.
That's funny. Do you have any more?
Yeah,
early
I think
takes?
that if Lincoln Riley does indeed stick around at USC, they're finishing unranked, and he will no longer be the head coach at USC. I think they're in some trouble next year. I think it's now the only reason why I would say that Lincoln Riley, the last part about Lincoln Riley not being the head coach anymore, isn't true. Is that like, why would you get rid of him if you are USC? Like, why would you do that to yourself? And like, there's just really no reason as to like you would think that me getting rid of Lincoln Riley is going to make this program better. But I think it could get ugly for them next year.
Here's an interesting thought I just had. Kalen DeBoer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think USC should make a push at him?
Why would he go there?
The AD that hired him
Is down there now.
down there now.
Oh.
That's
And
a
I mean,
clutch
you can
little
throw
call.
and you're USC, you can throw a bag at that guy.
But you're Caleb DeBoer and you're a robot.
Yeah.
You know who he reminds me of? Have you seen Parks and Rec?
Yeah, a couple.
Do you know
episodes.
when they go to Washington and they work for that robot legislator?
No.
And he like sits in there and he just smiles the whole time.
No.
And yeah, anyways, that's who he kind of reminds me of, just this robotic human. I actually had 2 more. One more being it's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten and then everybody else.
Yeah. That's how it's going to be for the rest of the time.
The
in
rest
college
of
football.
time. The rest of time, we're going to have 20 of the top 25 teams in the country in 2 conferences.
It's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten
Grilling
for the
each other.
like we're moving towards that's just going to be the next 2
It's going to be
conferences.
NFC,
Yeah.
AFC, basically.
I mean the ACC is
North and South.
Yeah, basically.
oh.
That's what it is.
History always repeats itself, you know. What was your other one? You
Yeah,
said
so
you had 2
what's
more.
the final one?
This is the best one, and this is the only one that matters. We will hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of next season.
I like it.
I believe that with all of my heart. We're gonna work for that. We're gonna earn that. 20,000 as of last night. We will hit 50,000 subscribers this time next year. Okay, I firmly believe that. We're gonna run it down.
I like it.
do it,
I
man.
like that hot take.
I'll throw this one up there. Also, don't want to just kind of run over that real quick though. That would be freaking awesome. I believe it too, wholeheartedly. But I just want to throw this one up because I asked Brooks right before the show. But who's going to be the cover athlete of this new NCAA game? Who's it going to be?
Fantastic question.
Is it going to be a current player?
It's
That's
gonna
the
be a
biggest
current
question.
player.
It's going to be a current player. Okay.
It's probably going to be someone like
I still kind of want to believe my earliest take of this was before last season. Dion
Travis
and
Hunter,
something
Deion's
like that.
gonna be-
I feel like that's an easy take.
Lee Corso.
That scares me. Then
Why does that scare you?
Put
'Cause
Lee Corso on the
I mean,
front
like
of
the legacy cover, like
it. Who's gonna kill him?
I'm not gonna say it, but I mean, like there is the cover curse.
cover
Like,
curse.
that would be the ultimate cover curse. Is
That's wild.
Damn.
just
That's
saying,
wild.
man.
I would like it though. That's cool. I didn't even think about that.
I would be
Putting Lee Corso on
Corso.
there, that'd be dope.
Hasn't Dion got enough love?
He has.
You know?
He has.
He's SI Sportsman of the Year this year after going 4-8.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Insane.
It'll probably be whatever biggest name quarterback is coming in this offseason. So probably like a Quinn Ewers or Jalen Miro. I mean, Carson Beck might be a guy to put on there.
What if it's like 4 of them, 4 or 5 of them? They do
That wouldn't be bad.
Who's the least notable cover athlete in the history? Whoever the hell that Utah quarterback was that one time. Who was that?
I
still don't even know who it was.
Yeah, I was about to say I can't even think of his name.
Like, I know Trent Richardson was on. I know Tim Tebow was on. Like, I know
RG3
Carson Palmer was on.
was
I
on it.
know RG3 was on one.
I don't know. Like,
Who the fuck was the Utah guy?
Oh no!
in my opinion, I would throw. Was it Denard Robinson who was on the cover?
Denard was on the cover.
Denard Robinson was
Like,
kind of nice.
was on the
though.
last cover.
He was nice though in college.
It's nostalgic now, but like, come on, man.
Laces, nah, bro. He was nice. Y'all sleep on Denard Robinson.
Dude, it's not like when you think of great college football players, you're telling me Denard Robinson's up there for you.
Bro, it's not nearly as bad as the Cleveland Browns fullback.
Peyton
being on the
Hillis.
Madden
Peyton
cover.
Hillis.
Yeah.
What a fame and
The
glory
Great White
that
Hope.
is. Man.
That's what that was.
1 year wonder.
Are we good? I'm
Yeah,
good.
Great.
Hey, appreciate you guys being here tonight. If you enjoyed the broadcast, make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Tell your friends, tell your grandmama, tell your grandpa. We'll see you tomorrow. Love you.